to the Grey Pill Podcast, where truth's unveiled, exploring the depths beyond what is retail. Conspiracies, esoteric knowledge so enthralling. Open up your mind, let's dive into the sprawling. Oh yeah. Grey Pill awaken, question what you know. Peeling back the layers, let your curiosity grow. Uncover hidden realities, break the mold. Come take the journey, let your mind unfold.
And welcome to the Grey Pill Podcast, everybody. Happy Friday, or Freak's Day, Freya's Day, whatever you want to call it. It's the true meaning of it. I'm your host, Jules, the redneck wigger himself. I am joined today by my friend, Mr. Austin Picard, Austin Wade Picard, as he so formally puts it, of the Underclass Podcast and Already Dead.
What's up,
Austin,
brother?
how you doing, man?
I'm good, brother. It's nice to talk to you again, Jules.
Good to talk to you. It's good to talk.
I enjoyed our conversation, honestly, dude. When you came on the other day, I was having fun, man. I could have gone another hour and a half, probably for sure. But
For sure.
I don't know. I can't help it, man. Like, ever since I realized, like, there are these additional layers and additional threads, like we were just talking about off air, like that we can tug on and kind of grants us this unique window into like this underlying power structure that truly does dominate, right, the and dictate the direction of global society in many fucking ways, right? And so I really love what you do, because I think it sheds a very unique light on that exact power structure that I was just talking about and referencing. And because at this point, man, I started out just with like MK Ultra. That was my first episode, right? Just
Really?
Operation MK Ultra, yeah. And I just kind of like laid out the bare bones of all the sub projects and how much it was institutionalized, to such an extent, and also just the level of torture that really was involved, right?
That's the thing that probably made me start looking into it, was the satanic ritual
100%.
abuse factor, dude.
SRS.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I already had my son.
Mhm.
I had him when I was 20, so had him pretty young. And so that really hit home for me to see that this has happened to these children.
No doubt.
For
The
decades.
most vulnerable among us.
Yeah,
Right.
man. Yeah. The people who we're supposed to be looking out for.
Yeah,
And
protecting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I know. And yet it's like established sadism. It's like these sadistic networks of abuse that are not only propped up and facilitated by aspects of power, elite political power, even, right? But
Yeah.
also covered up. I mean, at such a level where, right? I mean, you have Alex Acosta just for an example, in the Epstein case, right? He's coming out and saying like he's told to back off because Epstein's tied to intelligence. And I mean, what?
Yeah.
I mean, how many times can we see this story?
How many people
Yeah.
are agents of that same agency?
My God, brother. Epstein's just middle management. He's just one of many.
Oh yeah, dude. He's small fish.
100%.
Yeah.
And I saw that it was such an interesting moment because it was a huge waking up moment for a lot of people in the mainstream, I would think. But even then, they didn't wake up to any real degree.
Man, it was kind of a little nudge.
In the right direction.
Put them in the right direction.
Right, but then immediately they're basically derailed by the powers that be and the smoke and mirrors of the media and industrial complex, and so it's just the tale as old as time, or whatever you say, right? It's like, my God, when you realize that sexual blackmail has been a currency of the elites for fucking generations, right?
Oh, dude, yeah, it goes back, goes way back.
100%, man. And it hasn't only been like just like, for example, in Watergate that I'm covering with Jose right now, like the official story has always been Nixon called for the break-in because he wanted political dirt on his opponents, his political rivals for his upcoming reelection campaign. But none of that actually stands up. None of it. And when you get to the bottom of it, we have sexual blackmail. You know what I mean? And as is
one of the many blackmails.
major factor involved, and it also pedophilic blackmail, as far as like a pedophile network and a list of Republicans and Democrats that was being kept at Ida Maxey Wells' desk in the DNC at the Watergate, right? And it's like, man, once you realize that Spencer Oliver Jr., what it was his secretary, Ida Maxey Wells, who had this basically there was a hooker referral pipeline set up through her desk. Yes, and it was legitimately 2 blocks away at the Columbia Plaza Apartments. All right,
were they just bringing them there. They were just bringing hookers.
Yes, there? and you had diplomats coming in who would just go to this desk, this secretary's desk. They would be given a list of pictures of the different prostitutes in the network, and then they would choose what they wanted, and then they would make a call, then hang up. And then moments later, they would receive a call back, and they would schedule their prostitute. And so it's just absolutely crazy that not only was the CIA and Richard Helms fully aware of this call girl operation, they were propping it up using the mob, because the Heidi Reichen, who was the madam of the call girl operation, was deeply tied in with the mob and members of Operation 40 and the JFK assassination team. Yeah. It gets so crazy. It's just one of the craziest stories of all time. And the madam of the call girl operation, lived with John Dean, who was a White House aide to Nixon at the time. Lived with John Dean's wife, Mo Biner Dean, at the time, right as she was marrying John Dean. And they knew each other personally. She even lived with John Dean for a time. And so that's literally who ordered the break-in at the DNC, was John Dean, because he knew about Heidi Reichen's black book, which was being kept at Ida Maxey Wells' desk. And so it's just totally crazy when one of the burglars, who's a Cuban, one of the Cubans from the Bay of Pigs, Op 40, who hung out with E. Howard Hunt, who was clearly involved in the assassination of JFK and the Bay of Pigs as well.
I may not know some of these names. So if I look puzzled,
I'm trying not to be too.
You're dropping some knowledge right now, bro.
I'm sorry. It's just so fresh in my mind because it's absolutely insane, brother.
So
corruption, man. So
what?
Like, Jesus.
You said that the MK Ultra was like the first thing that you got into.
Yeah.
What case specifically?
Basically, I did like kind of a broad overview, and I really kind of tried to lay out the level of involvement with, as far as like, one, I wanted to also point out individuals that were involved at the highest level of MK Ultra, like Louis Jolyon West, and how many different cases and how many cases Dr. Jolly was involved with alone is just almost a smoking gun, because plus he's sitting on the board of the False Memory Syndrome Foundation, right, with all these other officials who are going around discrediting real victims of satanic ritual abuse and MK Ultra, and it's totally insane. Like how many different cases that they were involved with. Like Dr. Elizabeth Loftus is on the board as well, and she was involved with like Timothy McVeigh, the Oklahoma City bomber. She was involved with his case. She just casting doubt, right, in the minds of the jury and in the minds of it's honestly the FMSF, the False Memory Syndrome Foundation, the founders themselves abused their own daughter and sexually abused their own daughter. So they basically created the foundation and then flooded it with all these MK Ultra doctors, and then they all started going to like. Some of these people were involved in Patty Hearst trial. Some of these people were involved in the Finders and the McMartin preschool. So you have all these different cases of satanic ritual abuse, where this one organization with direct ties to the highest levels of MK Ultra, and what is MK Ultra? Breaking down your identity using dissociative identity disorder and MDD and all these other techniques and behavioral modification.
What it's called, mind control, or breaking down all the like your Jungian archetype and all the stuff that makes up your consciousness.
100%. And they give you these altars. That's what they call them.
Altars. Yeah. Then they can also make you like a sleeper assassin.
Oh, Manchurian candidate.
Yeah, bro. Fucking Zoolander, man.
That's my thing, to be honest. That's one of the things I'm most obsessed with is modern Manchurian candidates, because I don't think the program ever ended. And I think that
not, dude.
These mass shooters are largely Manchurians in modern form, 100%. And you know what a great example of that is, to just kind of reinforce that claim that I just made. I know it's extraordinary, but it's like there's this guy named Dr. Robert Duncan. And I found out about this guy when I did my James Holmes episode about the Aurora, Colorado Cinema 16 shooting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
man, I got so many episodes of yours that I probably need to check out.
Dude, I had no fucking clue how crazy that story really was, right? Because I mean, you have like, it's like what, I think 3 months away from Sandy Hook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's like less than 20 miles from Columbine, dude.
Oh my God.
Like, it's just so ridiculous what's going on. But then I found out about this
guy. I didn't know that, man.
I know, dude.
That's
too
great,
much,
man.
Too much
energy all in one place.
Yep.
There's something about that. Yeah.
100%. Because there's also these ties with this LIBOR scandal, which was this international financial scandal where, like, out of the city of London, they created LIBOR, which is basically international economic markets. It sets the rate, and it's really a huge scam. You know what I mean? And and of course, like, don't dig into that, right? So the city of London and the Committee of 300, and once again, points directly to that insane established elite network of power that we were just discussing earlier. But what I found crazy is that apparently, so involved in the LIBOR scandal, there was like a trial and people had to testify. People were called to testify. Two of the individuals who were called to testify were the father of James Holmes, who, by the way, works at DARPA. And then the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. Yeah. The guys that basically created Google and all of modern social media, you know what I mean? But anyway, and are tied with HARP and weather modification.
Yeah.
All of that, right? And so he works there. That's who James Holmes' dad was. Well, he's involved and called to testify in the LIBOR scandal, along with who else? The father of Adam Lanza.
Get the fuck out.
Sandy Hook. Yeah, dude.
You can't tell me that these guys aren't in some higher order.
Yeah,
like boo-fooing each other, or like, you know, I mean, obviously offering their kids up as sacrifices, right?
Dude,
because
it's a level that's how it felt.
That's a small sacrifice. Then on a larger scale, you have these like mass murders that these motherfuckers are committing that are way larger sacrifices. Have you ever looked into certain dates and some of these events, and if they take place?
Killings, David Berkowitz and the Son of Sam and the Process Church of the Final Judgment. That episode that I did.
Okay, so me and you're about to get deep in. I've done 2 or 3 episodes on the Process with my buddy Oddfellows.
All those killings were on occult holidays, man.
Yeah,
they were all on occult holidays, and all of them were strategic. It was basically the ultimate sacrifice. They wanted this insane public ritual that then, by the way, I read about levels of where they basically view it as involving the subconscious mind of the public makes you a part of the ritual. So you are basically
Absolutely.
facilitating it, and the energy itself
Absolutely.
will affect you,
Yeah, man.
and it provides more power to the ritual. And it's like it's one of the craziest things
It's the trauma from us. Yeah, that mixed with like that's just fucking chaos magic, bro.
isn't it?
Yeah,
It
man.
really
Like,
is, dude.
it's happening on a much larger scale. So, bro, the process church.
Mm-hmm.
Were you still talking about something? Sorry, I
No, go ahead.
probably
Go
interrupted you.
ahead, dude. We can talk about a lot of shit.
Oh, yeah. And we are going to. What's up, 6 people watching? Shout out always. Maybe some more people will pop in. Dude, so besides Berkowitz,
Mm-hmm.
what other connections to whom have you found?
Man, I saw
Savile?
Smiley. Oh, well, I know Jimmy Savile. He's like, by the way, he's tied into this crazy shit that I was just reading about in Oak Ridge, this hospital for the mentally and criminally insane, and in Canada, which was basically affiliated with MK Ultra. And but anyway, I found out that Jimmy Savile was frequenting that facility. He had gone there. He had visited that facility, and it turns out that the guy, Dr. Barker, who was running the operation there, man, he's involved with the Canadian Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. So you look up the sister organization to that, and it's the National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. And you see Jimmy Savile standing with a big check with Margaret Thatcher, and you're like, holy fucking shit. And so
Dude, she was one of the worst of them. So I've heard.
Yep.
Yeah, I heard she was a fucking monster.
Oh yeah, dude. And this Dr. Elliot Barker, according to Steve Smith, who was allegedly there for 8 months, and I mean, he's proven this basically in court. He's with 28 other plaintiffs, where a judge ruled in Canada that they were essentially tortured by these doctors. And he wrote a book called The Psychopath Machine, and it's absolutely insane, dude, because his claim is that they were
fitting name.
Yeah, right, because what he said was that they were manufacturing mass killers, manufacturing Manchurian candidates. He called them specifically Manchurians, and he used like an example. He had this guy named Peter Woodcock was one of the examples he used, and he said that this guy, by the way, he said was affiliated with these Germans from Paperclip that were settled in Canada and were a part of this group called the Brotherhood, and they only spoke in German when they did their occult rituals.
Was it called the Brotherhood?
That's what he said, yeah. And he just said it was called the Brotherhood, and that
I've heard of the Brotherhood of the Snake.
I know. I feel like there's more to the name.
More, yeah. But
100%.
That's interesting.
It was, because he said that he even like stayed with this guy after he got out of the mental hospital for a time, until he's got a weird story, man. This guy alone, the source that I'm relying on,
Awesome.
I'm just like
sources, dude.
I'm just
awesome.
The only reason I'm skeptical is because, which by the way, it could very easily be this, as far as like, it's hard to say. What if your family fit a target demographic for operational strategic purposes, right? Like, for example, you come from a broken home, and you have a single mother who isn't really invested in your well-being to the extent of finding out where you went, right? So I kind of thought that, all right, well, that's possible, right? Like, it could be possible that this happened, or this is one of the craziest, like, who knows? Maybe he's some sort of spook at this point. I don't even know, because his background is so strange that it's like, once he gets out of the mental hospital, he claims that his apartment or his home is burned down, and then out of fear he like runs down to South America, and he goes to all these different countries in South America, right? And he's moving like a spook, and he even claims.
So, what's your definition of a spook? Because in Mississippi, we have a completely different.
I know, dude. Honestly, I'm from Arkansas, so I'm fully aware of that definition. Yeah.
No, where? Like, don't dox yourself. But like,
I don't currently live there because I'm in Long Beach, California right now. Actually, since
yeah. You told me that you were on West Coast, Tom.
Yeah.
You from Little Rock?
No, from a little ass town called Gravette in northwest corner.
Gravette.
It's like near Bentonville.
My wife
Rogers, and Fayetteville.
What the fuck's it called? Branson? What the fuck's it called?
Oh yeah, Branson, Missouri. Yeah.
No, not Branson, Missouri.
No,
it's damn it, dude! It's a small town in fucking Arkansas. What the fuck, dude? I can't, dude. I don't know. Fucking memory loss.
That's hilarious.
Her whole family like lives in Little Rock. So.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, man.
So honestly, there's so much about it that I miss, and I will for sure return one day because I grew up
there, man.
I grew up on a 35-acre farm on a creek, and like,
dude,
I begged my mom, like,
how'd you move
that property? You know what I mean?
From that,
I think it's largely because, you know, we're all prisoners of our own environment and our own experience, and so I think it's mainly that I just was desperate for a drastic difference in experience. I just wanted to have it, and honestly, it was kind of miserable at first, and in many ways, it's, you know, like there are positives and negatives, and anywhere you live, you know. But at the same time, it's like when I first moved, we had to sacrifice so much to move out here, and you know, just the jump in you know, the state economic level alone is like it's a very big difference in the cost of living in general. And so that alone,
especially
just
right now.
Right. And so just trying to kind of like,
yeah,
for sure. And trying to just kind of get our foot in the door. We had to move like up into the high desert, like an hour and a half outside of LA, like in Palmdale. So it's like entirely different, you know, environment, weather-wise, landscape, everything. And it's nasty, right? It's desert, you know, and a lot of crime, high crime there in Palmdale and Lancaster, you know, because basically there's been this pipeline of gentrification from South Central LA and Compton and Watts out toward the prison in Palmdale and Lancaster. And that's just a reality. And I experienced that. It was so crazy. I ran a store there for a time, and and it was during the COVID insanity, and so was also the George Soros funded Black Lives Matter riots, right? You know what I'm saying?
Fun, dude. Yeah, those are real fun.
100%. And so I remember we had to shut down the store and everything, and like board it up and shit, and like leave that day and all this. It's like because of a scheduled protest. You know what I mean? But yeah,
what happened here, man? Everyone just been shot, probably.
Right. And yeah,
Bryant, Arkansas. That's where Bryant. You know
okay, yeah. I know Bryant. Yeah,
that's where she grew up before she moved here. So yeah,
dude. Yeah, there's so much that I value from my experience growing up there, honestly, and like it is a beautiful place and a wonderful place to raise children.
Love the Okatoma, man, and what the hell is it called? Lake Carroll, I think, or it's out there by Hot Springs, kind of by Hot Springs.
Hot Springs is cool.
Yeah, dude, it's awesome.
Yeah, I like going to the horse track there at Oaklawn, dude. I went there with my dad when I was young. I love it there. It's fun.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. But yeah, so it was a unique experience moving out here. And dude, I'm telling you, bro, like they'd tell you like don't chase people that when they're stealing shit. I'm like dude, I was so upset just because it was like principally fucked, you know what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah, dude. Can't help but get mad. Yeah,
I was just like, it was eye-opening. You know, I was reprimanding mothers for letting their children just steal shit. Like, it was crazy, brother. But anyway, I think that it was so valuable though, because I think that once you have like a drastic change in your environment and an entirely different experience, it grants you perspective.
Complete
You
culture change.
know,
Yeah.
100%,
Yeah.
man, and it allowed me to really cherish and value and reflect on what I thought before. As far
Yeah.
as my perspective was on Arkansas, and it's easy to just talk shit about growing up in a small town and like you know what I mean, and the ignorant aspects of culture that manifests in certain ways, but it's just as fucked in different ways in the city, right? And and so for me, again, it just made me entirely value my experience growing up in that area, and yeah, I love it. But the one thing that really drove me out was I just like was harassed by the police all the time because I smoked weed and I was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
partying, doing whatever I wanted it
Dude,
for quite a
I was
while.
on probation
Hmm.
from when I was like 18 till I was like 24, bro. Yeah.
Right,
So
dude,
I didn't leave the state for
consequences.
years. And I
Right.
still I still have only been to a certain number of states. Probably count them on both my fucking hands. But I know a lot of people. I'm a very cultured guy anyway.
Right.
As far as the type of music that I grew up listening to, the type of like kind of DIY indie scenes that I grew up in made me have a very like specific taste for stuff.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
nothing gay or but,
Yeah,
just different than a lot of people, I guess.
exactly. I was very similar because I took pride in being a little different. Just
Oh
as
yeah,
far as
dude.
yeah,
And
I
and you
think
get your own little
well,
crowd too, and then you're all
yeah,
weird together. But you're not
100%.
like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Now I think it's different. I think now it's like, I don't know, just a bunch of kids with diabetes who shouldn't have diabetes.
Oh yeah, dude.
and
But I
and
mean, it's largely bad parenting, right?
their
You
well,
see
their
how
parents tell them at 8 years old, like, you can be trans.
yeah, dude.
That's just not
Exactly.
a reality. That's not real.
No, dude.
So
Well, it's so
um,
sad because you see
it
how
is
many of them are regretting the decision to transition and all of this, and it's just like,
not that. I
Jesus
mean, the
Christ,
suicide rate alone.
that's what I mean. Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
like holy shit, man. And they have all these different support groups to like, people who are struggling with the realization that they'll never be able to return to any sort of normal. It's just like
it's fucked. Yeah.
hormonal wise and all this other. It's so fucking crazy. Let alone what it does to you psychologically. I
Well,
mean,
dude. Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, I used
yeah.
to be an addict.
Hmm.
Like 7 years clean now. And I know that my brain will never be the same
Yeah,
as
me
what
too,
it
brother.
could have
Me
been.
too. I was addicted to opiates, man. You
Yeah,
know?
I think
Yeah.
me, you, and Jose all share that. Uh,
It was
yeah, there's a few people that I've met in this realm who have been through that, and that's something very hard to go through.
hell yeah, it is.
In my opinion, man, when I was younger, I fucking partied a bunch and took everything under the sun, bro.
Oh yeah, me too. That was my philosophy was like, before it was gay to say you only live once. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that was basically it.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
But
100%.
when dude, I mean, I'm pretty sure I've talked about it on a couple podcasts. I would never want to be on opiates again, man. That because once you get off and you get clean, it's just the thought of it fucking makes me sick.
It
Especially,
certainly it takes over.
yeah,
Like as far as that was the one thing that I just like I couldn't handle it. It was something that I loved the physical feeling of it, and it overwhelmed me to the point to where I was just so concerned about my next fix that it's like I there are certain things that I realize I struggle with substance abuse in general.
yeah, man.
I always have. That's just who I am. It's natural to who I am. It's kind of a part of me. And then I also kind of helped facilitate that in just having these bad, behavior
You
patterns.
can recognize it. A lot of people will just deny it. And if I'm doing something in excess and I need to quit,
Right.
I will acknowledge that and I'll fucking do it.
You have to, man. Yeah, it's the only way.
Yeah, man. But the opiate addiction was just hell, dude. And getting off of it's the worst part. You never want to go back there.
No. No.
Yeah, fentanyl withdrawal.
I have a buddy that I met in recovery.
Withdrawal, anything. Just, it could kill you, honestly.
Man.
Yeah.
I have a good buddy that I love to death. He's my brother, and I met him in recovery, and he was in inpatient care in a rehab facility right down my street, and for recovering off heroin from moved to Arkansas from Arizona, and I remember that I was court ordered to AA, and so one of my first things.
Court ordered to rehab. So
right. So one of the first things that happened.
Yeah. Definitely wouldn't be here today if I wasn't.
Right. And one of the first things that happened when I went there was, of course, they basically forced you to get a sponsor. And so I had this young guy who urged me to go to this. He basically gave me no choice. And so he's like, you got to come down to this rehab facility and we're going to have a meeting. We're going to take an AA meeting into the rehab to the inpatient guys there. And so we took a meeting in there, and all I did was basically just really kind of like explain that terrible feeling of like paranoia and that terrible feeling of withdrawal physically. And then I referenced just kind of this added clarity that I was starting to appreciate at the time, as my mind was clearing through sobriety. And I just remember that he came up to me afterward because it just resonated with him that he had gone through something just so similar. You know what I mean? And I feel like many of us, this is the reason that it works in recovery, is because we see each other, we see ourselves in each other. It's like,
yeah.
And
you want to see yourself do better, so you want your homeboy to do better, man.
Yeah,
my roommate from treatment was found dead on a pig farm, shot like 14 times. He was in the Aryan Brotherhood, so it was sad, man. I actually had a dream, Austin, and I woke up to my wife crying. So I'm in the back seat of a car, and Wesley was back there. That was my roommate's name. And I guess I was doing drugs on the seat of the car, and I was telling him like, it's okay, I got this under control. It was like right after I had gotten clean, or like right after treatment, because he had died shortly after I had gotten out of treatment. He got out, and I guess ran into his old gang again. I don't know. I want to get killed by ABs or anything. So,
right.
And sitting there, man, and like if I feel like he's there, and he was making this face he would always make, where he was like looking at you, but like looking, like, I don't know, it was some weird face he'd always do. It was kind of funny. And I heard my daughter crying. She was in like the front seat in her car seat, and he kept like looking at her and looking at me, and basically telling me to take care of my family and like keep on the straight and narrow like I was doing. I woke up just like crying, just like in tears automatically. It was as if he was there.
That's crazy, man. Yeah.
And my daughter was crying on the baby monitor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Insane, man.
Yeah, man. Guys, sorry, we're getting a little deep on y'all. There's 63 people watching now. That's cool. What's going on, everybody? So, dude, Damn, dude. Yeah, me and you have a lot more in common than I
Isn't
would
that
have ever
crazy?
known, bro.
I swear to God, though, brother, like
How fucking
it's
weird is it that as soon as I started podcasting, I just like messaged you and I was like,
that's
hey, man,
strange, right?
it was weird, Austin, because okay, before I even started Great Pilled, I had planned on doing something on Mark Dutroux.
Mm-hmm.
And here's our segue right here.
Right.
And the Mothers of Darkness.
Oh
The
Jesus.
castle in Belgium in the Verdine's Forest, I think it's called.
Mhm.
It's on the edge or the border of France and Belgium.
Yep.
Dual citizenship, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
definitely. And I had planned on doing one. Okay, so my second episode was with Thomas and Donut. We did it on the Rothschild ball, the surrealism ball from 1972, because that was one that on my little list I first had when I first started. And so I did that one. Me, Thomas, and I think Ani Osaru are about to do one on John Todd. We're about to do a deep dive on fucking John Todd and if he was like a psyop or not. We're doing that soon. That was also on my list. And then Mark Dutroux and the Abraxas order was on my list. Bro, so I plan on doing it with Donut and Thomas because someone in the comments in my second podcast that we had all three done together was like, hey, you guys should do a deep dive on that castle in Belgium. And I knew. Thomas and Donut didn't know. I was like, I know exactly what the fuck they're talking about. Right. What's happening right now. So, I think it's around this time that I discovered Tower Gang, and I saw that Jose had like a conspiracy podcast, and I saw you were on there, and I knew who you were, and so, man, it was weird. I went to your fucking Spotify, and a week after I had planned on doing mine, and I didn't announce it or anything, like, and then I did some schizo shit, and I think messaged you about it, and you were like, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
That's great.
But you had done an episode on, you said it was Mark Dutroux, the Belgian Beast or something.
The Beast of Belgium.
The Beast of Belgium. And I was like, fuck me, dude. The synchronicities.
Seriously, right?
Yeah, like, bro. So, like, what got you into that, dude? What got you into going down that rabbit hole? Because for me, it was the mystery of that castle and the few pictures I've seen. So I'm like, I know this castle's real. And then in Fritz Springmeier's book, he refers to it in the Collins family chapter, and I'm pretty sure a couple other ones.
I found out about, basically, I was doing the witch hunt narrative, which was my Presidio McMartin episode, and I had just been pulling at these threads with Michael Aquino and all these different, United Nations, NATO, like basically they're just directly involved with these networks that tend to tie back into Operation Gladio, which was largely what I started covering that once I was covering Colonia Dignidad and the Nazi rat lines post World War II, because I had found out that all these different secret societies were involved, like Le Cercle and Opus Dei, and they're all involved with setting up that Gladio network of stay behind organizations, and then they're really kind of leveraging and utilizing private intelligence organizations like Whack and Hunt and all this different stuff, which that came up in my Danny.
I had one of those in my neighborhood growing up.
Oh my god!
They used to shoot beanbag bullets at you, bro.
Oh my god!
Yeah, they would shoot fucking beanbags at you. Me and my friends would be like burning some shit in the middle of the street, or like just breaking bottles and shit.
Is crazy,
dude. Fucking
dude, well, they're tied in. They were 100% down there in the fascist underground networks with like the Westland New Post in Belgium and stuff, which are directly linked to Benoit de Bonvoisin and Van Benens, or whatever the hell the other guy's name is, that both of them are directly, like, one's the prime minister at the time in Belgium, and the other one is just aristocracy. They called him the Black Baron. right? And
Oh,
yeah, and he is
a nice
named.
guy.
He's named by the ex-victims specifically as one of the key perpetrators. That Regina Loof herself, she claims that yeah, he was one of the most sadistic people involved in abusing them,
Is
including
this in
herself.
the case of Mark Dutroux?
In the case of Mark Dutroux, because the X dossiers came out because of that case.
How
And
many people did he like?
dude, at this point, I don't even know how many people, because there's so many that he abducted that we aren't aware of, and he
I mean,
wasn't the only one.
politicians. Didn't he like drop
Oh yeah.
some names? Like he
Oh yeah,
definitely
no, yeah. And Michelle Nehul was really the brains of the operation, right? Because during Dutroux's testimony, he claimed that two unidentified policemen had taken part with him in the kidnapping of Anne Marshall and Effia Lambrix,
poor
which
little girls, man.
yeah. And he even reportedly boasted about having built the dungeon in which Marshall and Lambrix were held for a while.
Found, yeah.
Yeah. He said, I wanted to create a hiding place to spare them from being sent to a prostitution ring, a powerful and sinister child sex ring. That's what Dutroux admitted. And he then admitted to raping Lambrix. And he said that his accomplice, Bernard Weinstein, had
Mhm.
raped Marshall. And he's the one who's
That last
dividing.
name just rings
Yeah,
true. You know?
100%, man.
Weinstein.
And he also admitted to drugging both of them and to kidnapping and raping two other girls, but not handing them over to Michelle Nehul to allegedly, quote, spare them the fate of Marshall and Lambrix. That's what he said.
Fucking excuse after excuse.
Uh-huh.
So did you read about this person that he was delivering children to or getting
Oh, no.
orders from named what was he go? I think he went by Anubis.
Yeah.
I think it was
Oh, yeah.
Anubis.
Dude, it's so crazy
That
because
Francis Desmet guy. I think that was his name. I think we had talked about that. Yeah, guys, I had went on Austin and Jose's podcast Already Dead last week, and we talked about tons of shit. I got into the Anunnaki, and I really owe y'all another episode on that, dude. I don't feel like I did it justice. I feel like Jose wasn't satisfied.
no, man. I had fun, brother.
I had a
But-
great time, and
Yeah.
I know he did too. But I you know, he watches my show that I do with Adrian,
Mhm.
and I know he has a lot of questions about it, and I don't feel like I don't know. I mean, it was short notice or whatever. And
No,
then,
yeah, I get it, dude.
After it,
I don't
Tuesday.
really have enough of a frame of reference with the Anunnaki because I'm so just constantly looking at this weird shit that
Yeah,
it's like I'm trying to, you know how it is. It's
Yeah.
like until you take the dive, you aren't going to have the clarity and perspective and the frame of reference required to really speak to it at any level of detail. You know what I mean? So like for me, I'm just like more interested in understanding the basics involved because I kind of like am aware of just like the fallen angels Nephilim aspect of kind of the Anunnaki story as far as like almost like I don't know, I've heard Sam so many times like they were trapped here, and you know what I mean. I'm not sure if that's the
once
narrative.
they took,
Yeah.
once they incarnated in these avatar bodies,
Mhm.
in a way they couldn't leave this realm. That's what made them fallen spiritually. Because there were two classes of angels that fell. There were the lesser Anunnaki, and then that mated with the women, and then there were the higher Anunnaki that disobeyed the creator of all and decided to tinker with the beings that were already on this planet and make hybrids. And then eventually they had sex with women as well once because they
Right.
masqueraded as gods, dude. Like,
Yeah.
think about it. You have been given this job by the supreme creator, who, again, the Anunnaki refer to him as the creator of all, and they're scared shitless of him throughout all of their epochs. Like, they're like, yeah, he's not going to like what we're doing.
Damn.
And you're given this job to go down and guide this first generation, the Gen Isis, the generation of Isis, this first generation of humans.
Mhm.
and you go down there, and half of you, or half of the group of the angels, are like, well, we don't really like these humans, but I guess we'll get what we can out of them while we're here. And then the other half is like, it's like, well, I really like pouring semen into these humans, the kids that they bring out. And this is talked about in the story of Noah, dude, in the Bible. His father is like, this is not my child. His skin was that of it was glowing. It infers that his mom mated with an angel. And in the Sumerian text, Enki is all about this chick named Batanash, who is Lumok's wife, Lamech, translated. Yeah, and he goes and pours his semen into her.
So where does this sex magic of ancient pagan like beliefs
that comes in with the younger generation?
Okay.
Now, eventually, I'm pretty sure they're, as many times as they could masquerade in these meat suits on Earth, because their original forms could have been dog man, reptilian. I think Sasquatch was here already, and these various forms of Sasquatch they made through genetic manipulation. But yeah, dude, the ritual stuff started when they started to live in the ether. Eventually, more and more humans were created and populated. They couldn't live out in the open like they used to.
Right.
And maybe the veil shifted so much during all these magical practices because they were doing magic to perform manifestation, and it talks about it in the Necronomicon. Every deity in the Necronomicon is a Sumerian deity or a son or daughter of. And dude, it talks about like the scorpion man from the mountain, all these great beasts that were controlled. But yeah, dude, it basically happened down the line. You got Marduk and Utu Shamash and Ishtar, and because Ishtar and Utu are the son and daughter of the moon god, Nana, or Nanarsin. That's where Inanna, Nana, it's all in the words, dude. Like most of their names are just the same letters, just arranged.
I 100% like agree as far as all of that is concerned. I think it's basically it's undeniable when it comes.
The occultism came through a few of these. Well, I mean, you really could say all of them. When they went along, they had to create different ways to gain power. Because eventually their souls would get tired here. Their souls weren't meant to be here. They were meant to be back in their heaven, Nibiru.
Nibiru, yeah. Okay,
yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Dude, what do you know of the star Sirius that the OTS was talking about? Because that was tripping me out the whole time.
Sirius is where the Enlil side basically comes from. And that's the ones that, I mean, it's called the dog star. In my buddy's book, Pantheon, he talks about how they, in one stage of life, because they were here for over half a billion years, I guess 500 million, 500, so 500,000 years, sorry. Getting ahead of myself. But okay, so the name Sirius, that's where the name Osiris comes from. Well, really, Osiris was a son of Marduk named Asar, and Asar is just another name for the morning star.
You just fucked my head up because Demambro said he was the reincarnation of Osiris, bro. 100%.
We're trying to channel the children of, and people hear me say this a lot. His name's fucking Marduk. You can call him Azazel.
Yeah.
You can call him Amun-Ra. You can call him Mars, Ares,
the sun god, Amun-Ra.
Yeah, man. The whole Egyptian pantheon is Marduk's family. He's given this reign of Egypt for this time. He takes it from Thoth. Thoth ruled for 14,000 to 16,000 years. He takes it from Thoth, and yeah, dude, his son Osiris or Asar, and Asar just means it's basically it means scorcher. It's representative of the dog star. Now, Enki during this time, like the progenitor of this side of the family, which comes from the Orion star cluster. The Sirius is Enlil. Enlil, Ninurta, Nanarsin, where the word sin comes from as well, right? You have that word. Where did it come from? Well, this deity existed far before the Bible was written.
Damn. That's so
that
crazy.
literally, I mean, you can't make some of this shit up.
Not at
you
all.
really can't.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's for sure some power to the subconscious level of all the symbolism because, I mean, brother, the level of symbolism in even more than the symbolism involved in like video game culture. When I was growing up, like playing Final Fantasy and shit, I'm like summoning guardian forces, Shiva and Quetzalcoatl, and you know what I mean, the feathered serpent and
you
shit.
Familiar? See, dude, same thing on different incarnations, and if they were closer together as far as time periods, it was just their children. And who knows, maybe they could fucking split their consciousness into two avatar bodies. Thoth talks about this in the Emerald Tablets, going down to Amente and living in this Akashic realm in the ether called Amente, while his body regenerates and his fucking cock is growing, and his body is preparing to become the demigod body. Wow. That he needs to thrive for all these years. Now, Thoth, the thing about Thoth, and there's theories that Christ came from Thoth's line because a lot of things Thoth talks about, Christ talked about. Now, I don't know about that. It's just a theory. I'm a follower of Christ, obviously. But I've said this a lot. I didn't come to Christ through the church. I came to Christ through esotericism, and that led me closer to the gospel, to the New Testament. And now I have a book of Psalms and Proverbs, the whole New Testament that I carry around with me. You look at the Old Testament, man, it's just a little too many names for God. You understand?
Yeah, definitely.
And the stories in Sumeria, it just, I don't know, man. They co-align perfectly. You change names, and really, that's all you need to do is change the names of things. That's why I studied the etymology of it, because it changed over time, and you can see it through the words.
Oh yeah, it's fascinating,
right? Man. Yeah, and I've been able to notice more and more. So you were asking about Sirius. That's where the word "sir" comes from, or sire in England, right? Mm-hmm. Calling people yes sir, no sir, that comes from Sirius. Just like wearing our wedding ring comes from Saturn, bro.
Oh my God, bro.
Yeah. Fucking shout out Jordan Maxwell, R.I.P., bro.
Yeah,
daddy Jordan Maxwell, who was, I think, himself a Freemason. I'm pretty sure his boy was Manly P. Hall. Like, they just kicked it.
God.
And I love Mr. Hall, man. I don't know him. But I read a lot of his work and I admire him. So I talk about it. You know, I want to have you on an episode actually where I do it like an esoteric book review, bro.
Dude, I'm in.
I don't know, because the stuff you research and the stuff that I get into aren't that different.
No.
For instance, and we'll come back to the solar temple, because that is a subject that I found out about years ago, back when I first started listening to Tinfoil Hat, and I was like, why isn't there a podcast on this cult?
Right.
And you are the first person that I hear talk about it.
That's hilarious.
I know, dude. It's uncanny. And so forgot where I was. Okay. I was going to talk about the order of the 9 angles.
Oh,
right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The Council of 9.
Mm-hmm.
So you have this 9, this letter 9. This does represent, and I was listening to the confessionals today. Shout out Tony Merkel. He had this guy on, I'm pretty sure was like a member of the Reynolds family, like the bloodline, which is
Wow.
in one of Springmeier's books.
Mhm.
So dude had an amazing story. But he was talking about these nine deities in every pantheon. And I'm sitting there just like, yeah, like, fuck. Yeah, I know. Like, I love when that happens.
Mhm.
And so I don't know. Yeah, there's something to the worship of these 9 deities that stem all the way back to Sumeria. So it's like, why not learn about their Sumerian origins too? And
Right.
that's, yeah, man, just seeing more and more how these Sumerian deities were worshipped got me to get into more and more conspiracies.
Mhm.
Research into cults and certain groups.
Dude.
So, what do you know about the Order of Nine Angles? Because
Well-
weren't you doing a deep dive into it, or have you not done it?
I haven't done
Okay.
into O9A because I've only kind of like
I don't want to
come
spoil
across
anything. that you haven't
O9A
read.
through. What? By the way, BX is coming on Already Dead on Tuesday. I'm pretty sure. Jose just told me so. She's really like into the 764, which is just an offshoot of O9A. It's a branch group basically of O9A. At least that was what I'm basically under the impression that's how it is. But yeah, it's this 764 satanic cult that's basically fucking around in Discord by like pressuring children in chat groups to like self-harm and like commit like they'll have them like kill their pets in these like fucked up ritualistic torture.
That's where
You
it
know,
starts with the pet
Yeah.
killing. Yeah,
right?
it's
They'll
fucked,
carve
dude.
the person's name into
I
their
never
skin.
imagined killing my golden retriever when I was a kid.
Brother. It's
I just
crazy.
fucking kind of ended my own life.
100%.
Yeah.
No way, dude. I mean, come on.
I can
Like,
imagine how traumatic that is for a child.
my God, dude.
88 people watching.
Hell yeah. You know what? I think a huge part of that is though, because that like a part of the DID MK Ultra, like manufacturing altars in a traumatized subject, is like they will do that. They will have you take care of they'll give you a kitten, and then they'll have you take care of the kitten and grow to love the kitten, and then they'll have you sacrifice the fucking kitten, dude.
Yeah.
And like it's just this like traumatizing it's basically trauma-based mind control is what it really becomes, you know, at a certain extent. So it's
Then
just
eventually that child is most likely sacrificed. And so you have all that energy built up in that child with the energy you're trying to invoke. Yeah, man, it's very dark, dude.
fucking A, brother. Yeah.
So like I said,
I'm gonna have to look into O9A though, because it can
no, for real.
continues to
Hey,
come up.
maybe we can do that together or something, dude. Get Jose
That'd be fun.
to hop in too. That'd be fucking
'Cause
rad.
I know that the guy that like hold on, talk about something while I find it, because there's actually this document that I found that
So yeah, find it and pull it up, bro. Let's pull some stuff up. We can go for however long you want to, dude. I don't know if you're busy or if you have a time period, but you're on Gray Pill, dude, so we can talk about whatever.
hell yeah, brother.
So over time, I think that these deities worship as the 9 in Egypt and Babylon and Sumeria and all of these different cultures. Obviously, they're fallen already. They're
Mhm.
fallen spiritually. They're fallen physically. They're not going up from there, right?
Right.
I mean, over time, you degrade your soul more and more as an ethereal being or as whatever they used to be, these messengers from God, these angels. That's what angel means in Greek, is just messenger. And so eventually it's like, yeah, you got to get into blood sacrifices and child sacrifices and like small, cute animal sacrifices
Right.
to invoke these beings because they've, I guess, in a way, like downgraded.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like,
Definitely. Yo, let me take a piss real quick. Is that cool?
You're good, dude. Yeah.
I'll be right back, brother.
Guys, there's 88 people here. None of you have been in the comments or anything. My wife commented. Thank you, sweetie. Yeah. Austin will be back. See if we can see if y'all like this. Let's see. Schizo News Network. Mark, me, Cody, Jeff, Squatch. Squatch's old ass is gonna be there. It's gonna be a good time. I don't know if Nate's back in yet, so we're just waiting for all. I didn't talk about that. There he is. Sorry, I had the music going.
Oh, you good? My dog's been here freaking licking herself when I was gone. She's like, she's mostly Rottweiler, but she's a little mutt, you know, so she's got a little bit of something in her, but she's the best, man. I love her so much.
That's for damn sure. She got a Rottweiler in her.
Yeah.
I've always wanted a female Rottweiler, man.
I love her. She's the best. But yeah, I'm still I'm gonna pull it up because I freaking pulled it up the other day.
I was just telling everybody, Schizo News Network tomorrow night just released the Elohim etymology, guys. First one on Marduk. It's good shit, man. Shout out Adrian, my co-host, and one of Griff, his book, Pantheon 1, Golden Veins. Yeah, I should just put, yeah. Sometimes I use his logo up there, dude. He was my first episode ever on.
Really?
Greypilled, yeah. And so we're real good friends. So
that's awesome, dude.
We nerd out over the Anunnaki.
That's so funny.
Yeah. I'm like,
I know that
more.
The Michael Aquino, right? When the guy that created the Temple of Set or founded the Temple of Set.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, he was running around chatting with allegedly they were just like arguing about philosophy on in like chat rooms and shit basically, but he was talking to Matthew Myatt David Myatt, I think that's his name, the guy that was heavily involved. He's the one who founded O9A, the Order of Nine Angles, and allegedly potentially it was a part of an intelligence psyop, right? Psychological operation was because he was like British intelligence, right? David Myatt, allegedly. So
MI6.
Yeah. So it's like at that point when I saw that they were like corresponding, I just thought it was hilarious, you know, that he's sitting there talking to they were basically arguing about like the satanic philosophy, right? Because Michael Aquino he split from the Anton LaVey version of Satanism or whatever, I guess we're supposed to believe. But I did find it hilarious because when I did that episode where I really kind of, by the way, Project Monarch, right, which is basically you know, a child sex trafficking operation, I believe, like and heavily involved with MK Ultra trauma-based mind control. It turns out that Paul Bonacci, I forget, Nick Bryant literally told me.
Benassi, I think.
Yeah, I think it's Bonassi, and I was saying Bonacci, and so I was pronouncing it wrong the whole
That was
fucking
one of the first stories that I ever heard.
dude. So
as far-
sad, brother.
Yeah, man. What he was, and when you hear about what he went through at Bohemian Grove.
I didn't know. I haven't heard this.
Wait,
I've
you haven't
seen-
heard the
I
interview?
didn't know that. Well, I've seen him in a lot of different interviews, like mostly in regard to the Confessions of a DC Madam and the Franklin scandal, largely.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was probably the Franklin scandal. I don't know. I heard somewhere that happened also at Bohemian Grove.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean,
He
my
was-
God, they do the cremation of care there. I mean, why would-
And
and they're all gay there. So I mean, it makes sense.
yeah,
It's
they're
perfectly
all completely gay. Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I know that Aquino, I mean, well, he was a military intelligence officer specializing in psychological warfare, right?
That's
And,
crazy, man.
Yeah. That guy is the one who established the Temple of Set in 1975. It's just so crazy, man.
Dude.
But yeah, Bonassi, he said, well, he's regarded by many as an MK Ultra Project Monarch mind control victim who was involved, we know, in the Franklin scandal. And I believe him when he said he was involved in the abduction of Johnny Gosch, right? Which Johnny Gosch was the paper boy, I believe, in Iowa. That he just vanished one morning, and there's a whole story there that, and
gosh, man.
dude, allegedly,
Or is he still alive?
yeah, I think he was still alive because
Shit.
he went listening to his mother, Noreen Gosch. She testified that he visited her years later and came with another person to her doorstep in the middle of the night one night and talked to her for 2 hours and said that he was in hiding in fear of his life because of the network that he escaped from. Yes, dude.
Okay. Yeah.
It's fucking crazy. Like, I couldn't believe what she was saying, man.
Why would she make that up?
Why the fuck would she make that up?
Right.
And she waited a couple years because he basically told her, don't ever say this to anybody that I came here. And so she waited for 2 years, and then on the record she ended up testifying that that this occurred, that this meeting occurred, and then she claimed that there are high level officials involved with this international child trafficking operation that her son was a victim of. And it's just absolutely insane that she said this on the record, but not really though. Once you look into all this shit, right? I mean, it's so crazy, brother.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, that's what I think was so insane about what Bonassi said, because in May of '98, investigative researcher Dave McGowan, who's my boy, who wrote, he's RIP, because he's just like, I love him as a resource for Program to Kill alone. Is one of the greatest books I've ever read in my life. But then the Laurel Canyon, his Laurel Canyon work, I was just like, oh my God, like my, basically proving the entire 60s and 70s counterculture revolution was a huge psyop.
Psyop.
Nuts,
a giant bad trip.
Seriously, dude.
Yeah.
It is insane. But McGowan explained in '98 that one of the names raised at the Bonassi trial was that of Michael Aquino. And so Aquino was accused in court by the mother of a victim, and as being a key player in a nationwide pedophile ring. And Bonassi himself also positively identified Aquino as an associate of Lawrence E. King, who was running the Franklin Credit Union and was the key perpetrator in the scandal, in the Franklin scandal
today.
And that man is consistently trying to involve himself with children's organizations and various different things to get him around children. And
Larry King,
Lawrence E. King, yep.
Bill.
Still. And you know who's on his tail, dude, exposing his ass, calling these organizations and saying, he's a prolific pedophile, right? Nick Bryant, the guy who wrote the book. And he's just such a badass, dude.
Yeah,
Nick is the man.
Shout out Nick Bryant.
100%.
Hell yeah. Dude, I mean, when you think about Michael Aquino and what he represents, so Cain killed Abel. Marduk killed his youngest brother, Tammuz. Dumuzi is what his name. And then you have that same curse going down to Set now, because Set killed Osiris, his brother, and then killed his nephew. And they resurrected Horus. Well, Thoth resurrected Horus. And so you have that archetype of like the murderer who they're trying to bring about. My friend, my co-host Adrian, has a theory that Set is the Satan, because there's many Satans. Satan just means adversary or someone who's against God. But Set is one of those deities that's prayed to, dude, more than others. That line right there. Because like we were saying before we went live, dude, like there's tons of these different cults and these different orders that worship so many different deities.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
But there's such similar as far as the ideology and the philosophy that's attached to them. It's so crazy, because that's what I thought was fucking nuts about the Process Church and how they were connected into kind of this just underground, network of satanic organizations and occult organizations that are very much in the theosophical, esoteric vein of their belief system. And it's much of it seems to be about like chaos magic and basically
that's what they run off of. Yeah, because they all look to Crowley, who was in his time the ultimate chaos magician. Dude, oh my god, man, that's crazy. No, I was trying to look, because who's the guy that started the Process Church? David. David.
I'm trying.
Robert
de Grimston.
Robert de Grimston.
Damn it. Yeah,
dude. Fuck that guy.
Fuck that
dude
guy.
Was hanging out with Audrey Hepburn, the same people that were at that Rothschild party, dude.
Oh my god.
Taylor, Audrey Hepburn. Yeah, man. He was kicking it with like that whole elite class.
Surprised me. You know that he was in the Rome, like, so basically there's like this crazy ass connection to Manson, right? Because Charles Manson was he was definitely exposed to the practices of the Renegade OTO Lodge in Southern California, as well as being deeply influenced by the Process and their doctrine. And Phil Jahan, the author, he wrote in his book that Manson was associated with Robert de Grimston of the Process Church. And in fact, they used the same alias, Robert Moore. And during the Tate LaBianca trial, the prosecutor even asked Manson if he knew Moore. And Charlie responded, "You're looking at him. Moore and I are one and the same."
Holy shit.
Yeah. Dude, and leading up to the Tate LaBianca murders, it gets fucking crazier. Sharon Tate and Roman Polanski, yeah, they had been in Rome with Hollywood manager and owner of the infamous Cielo Drive house, Rudy Altobelli. And according to official records from the IRS, they were also in Rome at the very same time as one Robert de Grimston. Now, 5 days after the murder of Sharon Tate, the Rome chapter of the Process Church would call a Council of Masters meeting, swiftly deciding to close down the Rome chapter, allegedly returning to England, where they would subsequently publish the Fear and Death issues of the Process magazine, while opening up in a chapter in Paris. And de Grimston was also associated with Ron Stark, the CIA agent who supplied LSD to almost all of the youth in America during the late 1960s, including the infamous Altamont Festival, where all those fucking people died, and those motorcycle clubs were running security. And
Dude, I
another
mean, look at
dude,
look at Grimston. The dude looks like a fucking dirty hippie, right?
he
Like
looks like he's trying to be Jesus. That's what he looked like, right? Like very similar to Manson as far as the archetype, where they're trying to reflect this Christ.
embody this image.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
that's what it was about. It really seemed like it, right? Like it is so crazy to me, man. And another weird ass unexplained occurrence that happened during the Manson trial. This is crazy. Is the fact that Steve K, who worked on Vincent Bugliosi's prosecution team, he used to date Sandra Good, one of the main Manson girls, years earlier when they went to school together in San Diego. So in 1970, during Manson's trial in connection with the killings of Sharon Tate and housemates Leno and Rosemary LaBianca, two representatives of the process made an impromptu visit to Prosecutor Bugliosi by the name of Father John and Brother Matthew. And having heard that, I was asking questions about the group they had been sent from their Cambridge, Massachusetts headquarters to assure me that Manson and Moore had never met. This is what Bugliosi says, right? That he's visited by this Father John and Brother Matthew. And having heard that, the main reason was because they had heard that Bugliosi, the prosecutor, had been asking questions about the group to Manson, right? And so this Father John and Brother Matthew were sent from their Cambridge, Massachusetts headquarters to assure the prosecutor Bugliosi that Manson and Moore had never met, and that Moore was opposed to violence philosophically. And then they also left Bugliosi a stack of processed literature. And so the following day, the names, the same fucking people, Father John and Brother Matthew, they just so happened to appear on Charles Manson's visitors list. Now, what they discussed is unknown, but what we do know is that in the last conversation that Bugliosi had with Manson, Charlie became evasive when Bugliosi questioned him about the process. And Manson's guests, this Brother John and Brother Matthew, or Father John and Brother Matthew, they had solicited from him and perhaps even transcribed a short article on the nature of death, which they ran in their 1971 issue, thematically titled Death. That's how much Charles Manson is tied in with the Process Church of the Final Judgment.
Holy shit. I didn't know it was that deep, dude.
It is totally nuts, man. I couldn't even believe it, to be honest, but
Lord,
it really does make sense. You know,
it does.
like it
does.
truly does, man. And man, Aquino, brother, like you had even more than that when Benassi, after he said that he was after he identified Aquino as Lawrence E. King's associate, he said that he was known to the children only as the Colonel. That's what he said about Aquino. And then he said King's personal blackmail photographer, Rusty Nelson, he identified Aquino as the man to whom he saw King hand over a suitcase of cash and bonds. So the blackmail photographer, Rusty Nelson, also said that King told him that Aquino was part of the Contra guns and cocaine trafficking operation run by George Bush and other notorious Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North.
Bill Clinton.
Yep. Mena, Arkansas, baby.
Real fucking
Those
railroad
kids
track,
found
man.
on the tracks, dude.
Dude, that fucking story,
That's
dude.
so crazy, man.
Crazy.
It is insane. But so he's also been Aquino linked to Offutt Air Force Base, which is a strategic air command post near Omaha that was directly implicated in the investigation by the Franklin Committee, and it's claimed that he ordered the abduction of Des Moines, Iowa paperboy Johnny Gosch. So they said what I heard is that some elitist public official had a paperboy fetish, and Noreen Gosh herself even claimed that, hey, they're going to kidnap another paperboy, and she said where it was going to take place and when, and she gave the weekend that it was going to happen, and it fucking happened, dude. And the kid went missing, and it's just so crazy to me that she had prior knowledge of that abduction, because she had hired a private investigator who really tracked down a lot of information in regard to that trafficking operation. And so that's why she's trying to tip off local authorities and local police officials, and they're not listening to her because they're compromised by the network.
Yeah.
Fuck,
They all are, dude. It's crazy. It's like these things are planned long in advance.
Feels like it, man.
Yeah,
And
man.
by the way, after Aquino was all like upset about the direction in which Anton LaVey was taking the Church of Satan and founded the Temple of Set in 75, he personally claimed after he resigned from the church that he himself embarked on a ritual to invoke Satan, who revealed to him a sacred text called the Book of Coming Forth by Night. And according to Aquino, in this work, Satan revealed his true name to be that of Set, which had been the name used by his followers in ancient Egypt.
Yeah. Okay. Night represents darkness, evil, ignorance. In the esoteric, it represents ignorance, and light. That's why the sun was always worshipped as God, because the sun was bringing
pagan rituals always say,
and it's bringing light. Dude, so what got you into the solar temple? When did you come across that? Because I think I told you and Jose, I saw that YouTube documentary, dude. And, yeah, that shit right there, that was one of the craziest stories. Hearing that one guy talk about how he was running like guns and just like cops pulling up on him, and the manifestation stuff. Because you had the two guys that started it, right? Luke Ray and
Joe the Man Bro.
Joe the Man Bro. The most like the broest name ever. The Man Bro.
Dude. And they had like, I mean, I think central to it all is this sort of mind control ideology that really is pervasive within all the cults. And it's mainly in this dynamic of, we are special, we are unique within the fabric of society itself, and we have the knowledge, we have access to the knowledge. And so there's this kind of this sort of like elitist aspect of it, where you believe, like, that was a lot of the members of the OTS said their favorite part about being members of the group was that they were superior to the rest of the world, basically the rest of humankind.
They were told by the Man Bro that they were like later incarnations of like John the Baptist and Joseph
he would tell like Mother Teresa,
Arimathea, and all these like mystics from the ancient past. And
he called he had a thing called cosmic coupling, and he would say that, oh, I'm sorry, you aren't supposed to actually be married to each other. And then he would separate couples and then put them with other people, and then like if anyone got pregnant or anything, he would force them to separate. And it was very interesting. And Luke Jure had a sexual angle to it all, because
was he a homosexual?
I think he was. Yeah, I think honestly, I think that he was bisexual. I think because
maybe the Man Bro too. He may have liked those Man Bros.
And he could have, honestly. I don't know if there's a pedophilia angle here, but I would not at all be surprised, especially when you see how, like the cosmic star child and all this crazy shit that they were doing with that young kid. And then they're not even using, like, they and I hate to use this term because it's gay as shit, but they like misgendered the child, right? Like calling the little girl basically by male pronouns, you know what I mean? And
Is
it's
that an intent thing for a ritual, or
it was it was like he said basically to protect her, he had her wear a helmet and these special gloves, and like, yeah, dude, it's fucking crazy,
Sorry.
man. And then
Sorry.
he would
The
have the
helmet.
child, he would like basically help the child conduct the ritual. And yeah, very strange. And
Very
so
strange.
yeah, especially when you see the pentagram on the floor, and like, because there clearly was a Luciferian angle,
During the solar temple rituals, there were
brother.
pentagrams. Wow, I didn't know
Center of the
that.
floor, underneath the altar. The altar's in the center of the pentagram, brother.
Holy shit,
Like, yeah,
man!
it was fucking nuts. And there's a Luciferian aspect to it all because
The light, the solar temple. That could
100%.
mean, the
And the
morning
Green
star,
Order, the
light
Luciferian
bearer.
international organization called the Green Order, was directly involved with the foundation of the OTS, man.
The Green Order,
Yes,
the Green Man,
that's what they call them.
and that Osiris was green, right?
I didn't know,
All
but
his depictions are him being green. He is the first
my God,
archetypal
so
green man.
that is crazy.
Later on, you have Pan, and you have all the pagan mysteries and the Odinic mysteries, and but so did I tell you how like George Lucas was channeling some Sumerian being when he made Star Wars?
No, but that's
Okay, so
not at all surprising to me.
who I brought up earlier was Enki's incarnation in Egypt. He had his sons running the whole thing. And so he's like, I got to be here and make sure these little motherfuckers don't wreck shit, in which they completely did. He had this thing called the Jed Pillar, DJED. And Osiris was known as a Jedi. He had a Jed staff. Yeah, bro. Just spelled with a D at the beginning. Jedi. Yoda, one of the first Jedis, is green.
Oh my God. You're totally
right.
Dude, what the fuck?
The whole time he's like, oh, you not see what like he speaks like a fucking mystic. He is
really does, yeah.
Common in that, and so
God,
yeah, that goes all the way back to that pantheon in Egypt, which definitely stems further back into Sumeria. I have to do a dive on that. We're gonna do an episode on the sons of Marduk, Set, Osiris, and Nebo, or not Nabu, but Nebo in the Bible. But yeah, dude, sorry I completely interrupted you and probably derailed whatever you were saying.
You're totally good, brother.
But
I just think it's fucking insane that Demambro was a Rosicrucian as well, especially because Amort comes up so often, dude. Like, I'm just like, as far as like the ancient and mystical order of Rosicrucis, it's like it comes up all the fucking time in everything that I'm researching. And I mean, even Sirhan, the Manchurian mind-controlled patsy that was basically put in front of RFK in the pantry that night with the ambassador as a distraction.
Yeah.
While Thane Eugene Cesar, Thane Eugene Cesar, the security guard, the operative, moonlighting as a security guard that's basically a hitman for the mob and the CIA. Yeah, what you would call a spook, exactly. and he's like 100% point blank range, right? Had pulled RFK back and then shot him in the back of the head. And so it's just so crazy. And then he fell on top of him, and then he gets rid of the weapon very quickly after that. And it's just,
why does no one get into this shit, bro?
I know,
like, why does it take 30 fucking years? 40, like,
yeah, I know. It's
and you got some motherfucker named Sirhan.
Right. I know.
Like, come on, guys.
And he's working at this racetrack, this horse track. And he has direct ties to the Rosicrucian order from the horse track, from the racetrack, which also is affiliated with members of the mob who are tied in with the CIA at the time because
tied in with the Savoy family of the black nobility. The Genovese family is tied in with
100%.
the Italian banking families.
Yep. Same as
that's
the
why
Harrimans with JFK. It's the same exact scenario.
during those rituals of being inducted into a crime family, you would have to have like a dagger and something, and you would burn a saint and prick your finger and give an oath, right?
Exactly.
Like you would in any mystery school, any secret society. The Solar Temple, man, like the fact that you told me that Demambro was trying to like incarnate as Osiris just makes so much more sense, dude.
It's absolutely crazy. They claim
these weird occultists just like battling behind the scenes. You got this motherfucker trying to like bring Set back, and you got someone trying to incarnate as Osiris. 100%. Fucking Jay-Z.
And they call it like the Black Flame, by the way, which I am like, why does this consistently come up as well? Because I know that with the Setians, right, like they believe that Set is the one real God and that he has aided humanity by giving them a questioning intellect that they refer to as the Black Flame.
The Black Flame. It probably connects to the Black Sun, man. You know, in
that
Hollow Earth theory.
Oh my God,
Black
dude.
Sun.
I found out about
worshipped, you know, inside the earth. That's why you have all these like the Mithras mysteries back in Greece.
The Hollow Earth shit is as far as the esoteric aspect to it. I just read about this dude, I read this like occult blog called basically Order Out of Chaos is what it really is in Latin, but it's but the researcher's name is David Livingstone, and he's like just basically a huge resource, a fountain of knowledge when it comes to a lot of this. I think he spent basically his entire life accumulating all this different information. And honestly, I kind of have a hunch that he's been affiliated with a secret society in his day because he's got too much knowledge on this and too much detail as far as his explanations and connections and people involved. And maybe he is just an amazing researcher or he has an additional advantage as far as his perspectives involved. But I was reading about how it was basically when I was finding the Gladio connection to the OTS and how, there's 100% a tie-in there. But I was reading about how this guy named Miguel Serrano was a Chilean diplomat, and he died in like 2009, right? And the next leading proponent of esoteric Hitlerism after Savitri Devi claimed that Colonia Dignidad, that cult group ran by Paul Schaefer, which was down in South America where under Pinochet. And yeah, dude, apparently even like
in South America, right?
Brother, it's all because of the Nazi rat lines, because Paul Schaefer was a Nazi and Joseph Mengele, the Nazi scientist, he stayed at Colonia Dignidad for a time. It's now known there. And they had underground tunnels. They had like,
and that Colonia name, that's another black nobility family.
Not surprised. They spoke in German and they behaved as if they were still in 1940s German society, pre-war, as if nothing changed. They literally, they only spoke German there. They still to this day, it's like some, I forget what the name of it now is, village. Oh fuck, I forget the name. But anyway, it still exists to this day, where these they had pictures of like Nazis, in uniform in the fucking place. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And they had like they were not only were they manufacturing weapons, they had like this secure perimeter around Colonia where thousands of people were executed in this place. It's just so crazy during the revolution, and they were just conducting experiments on these people, and it's just, and Paul Schaefer himself was a pedophile, the guy who was running it, and so he surrounded himself with little boys, and it was just super disturbing what he ended up having to escape, and he was on the run for years, and it pretty nuts what they found there too, because as far as what we know they found, there
You're
was
talking
like
about Bavaria Village.
yeah, Village Baviera or some shit. I can't remember.
Yeah, Village in Chile.
Chile, that's
Yeah,
it.
it's in Chile.
Yep. And once you realize how many connections there are to Colonia and the Nazi rat lines there, it's like, man, the German people lost that war. The Nazis,
dude.
they basically got drafted, and
Yeah.
and especially when you look at like the claims of the Hollow Earth and Antarctica and all of that, who knows what's going on there, but I do know that that's what a part of this was that Savitri Devi, this proponent of esoteric Hitlerism, along with Miguel Serrano, this Chilean diplomat, he claimed that Colonia Dignidad was actually a UFO base in contact with the Nazi base in Antarctica. I swear to God, this Chilean diplomat, which I just think is so funny, man,
Dude.
especially because this is like from an official source.
Yeah,
right?
you can't make this shit up, man. Like
No. It is absolutely crazy, man. But they just consistently, they're talking about both Devi and this this other individual were important sources of inspiration to Serrano, whose works are now circulating among neo-pagans, Satanist skinheads, and Nazi metal music fans in the US, Scandinavia, and Western Europe. This is what it's just so insane.
You're so right,
man.
dude.
Right?
Yeah. Well, it's just the worship of these pagan gods.
Yep.
Hitler was a giant occultist.
Oh, 100%.
Huge,
Love Helena
man. I mean, the
Blavatsky.
swastika itself is an occult symbol.
They believed in ancient runes and that they held power and energy. And that's why, like, I think it was Heinrich Himmler.
It was him or Hess.
Yeah, Rudolf Hess
was
well,
a huge
I
occult.
know Rudolf Hess was like having an all-out occult war with
Crowley.
Crowley. Yeah.
Like, flying out the sky, wearing talismans
fuck?
and shit all
That's
over.
the craziest story I've ever heard in my life.
Bro,
He's flying
okay,
into
so that's
enemy
who it
territory.
was, man. Someone was talking about that on some podcast, and they couldn't figure out. I forgot which one. I was listening to something recently.
He was held prisoner of war after that for like a minute.
Yeah. I mean, you got the Fuel Society and the Vril Society with Maria.
Literally, it's coming up right here because that Serrano, the Chilean diplomat that I just mentioned. Well, man, turns out that.
Have anything you want to pull up?
No. I mean, honestly, I just have.
You have notes.
Yeah, I just have
too,
a little.
Dude. It's I've been told to pull up pictures and stuff throughout streams, and it makes it better. I'm just like, our conversation is we got 105 people here, man. What's up, everybody?
Yeah. What's up, guys?
Everyone that's listening, it seems.
Allegedly, this Serrano guy. Well, I mean, not really allegedly, because he actually did begin to publish the Protocols of the Elders of Zion in late 1941, which, hey, apparently it's considered to be one of the most anti-Semitic texts you could ever read in your life. But when you read through it, you're like, is this predicting the future? Right. You're like, what the fuck? It's the craziest thing of all time, man. Talk about like a very unique elite agenda to subvert the morals of Western society and introduce pornography and all these other means of degradation. Homosexuality. You look at the Jaffe memo and everything with the eugenicist angle of
feminism.
Yeah, well, yeah.
All the stuff, dude.
All tools.
Talking about, I was talking about on a recent Elohim etymology one I just dropped, guys. Go watch it. How like Ishtar, the spirit of Ishtar, is the spirit that has been manifested now and is taking place currently in fourth wave feminism. Jeez. This like warrior OnlyFans, like
Right.
OnlyFans models. Yeah, man. It's like, because Ishtar was a huge nymphomaniac. She had a sex palace in the sky. And after she would kill men after she'd have sex with them, she would kill them and throw them out her sex palace.
Jesus.
Literally abducting dudes. And she was trying to reincarnate Dumuzi, the youngest brother of Marduk, who was the first Anunnaki death on Earth.
Jeez.
Yeah. He I don't know his Enochian name, but he was a high angel, I guess. I mean, dude, he really didn't seem like that bad of a guy. He didn't have any he didn't abduct any Earth women. He taught how to be a shepherd. So, I mean, I don't know. And that's why Marduk didn't like him, and got through a magic spell, basically tricked him into thinking that he raped his sister-in-law, which drove him to be chased by royal guards, and he slipped off a mountain. Yeah, crazy story. It gets a lot deeper than that, but this spirit of Ishtar is alive and well in our society today.
I believe
manifesting throughout a lot of these women out here.
Dude, I know that the Lilith aspect of it all,
Ishtar is Lilith's aunt.
Okay. That
makes sense, right? She's probably kicking it with her niece, yo. Yeah.
Right, dude, 100%, man. And you see those values at the forefront now, and they're being embraced as if they're female empowerment, right? I'm empowering myself. Yeah.
And
deceptive as hell.
Females are empowered. The ones that are really empowered are my wife. She's been with me for 11 years. And I'm stronger with her at my side.
100%.
If you have a good relationship like that, that's real, dude.
100%, brother.
But that whole rejection of a man, but still using him just like Ishtar did for sex, and then basically
brother
killing him in a way.
Even worse than that, right? Not only that,
him, but or whatever you want to say.
They claim to reject those conservative, gender identities and these values allegedly, but then they recreate them themselves. Where you see how a dyke behaves as a man and tries to have alpha energy.
Hates men, but
hates men. Yeah, but is embracing this masculine energy. And it's do you not see what you're doing? You know what I mean? You are recreating the exact same gender dynamic. Why?
That's when you get into the father of Ishtar,
right?
Sin. That's Sin. The guy I was talking about, that Sin was named after Nanar Sin, the moon god.
Wow.
Apparently, early cults of Sin were transgender.
Fuck.
I'm not fucking with you, bro. Back in antiquity, you had these occultists that were transgender. Wow. Yeah, I read this from some biblical scholar. I forgot who it was. He gets deep into these archetypes that have reemerged in the end times, like that of Baal or Marduk, that of the whore or Ishtar.
Right.
And her brother Shamash is worshipped as that name Utu. Shamash Utu means solar. Marduk's name at one time was Amar Utu. So wow. these roles are passed around. Now you're the sun god, cuz right. Now you can rule Egypt or the Indus Valley for this amount of time.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, bro. So back to the solar temple.
Right. Dude, now that you say that, Jock Breyer He allegedly played a huge role, this guy, with the philosophical aspect of it all. Because as far as remember, I mentioned that DeMambro, he's sampling all these different esoteric groups coming from Amorc. In the 1960s, he comes into contact with all these several people who later played a role in Solar Temple history, including this important figure named Jacques Breyer, who had allegedly initiated a Templar resurgence in France in 1952. And so several groups, including the OTS, or the Order of the Solar Temple, have their roots in Breyer's work. And Templar, in this context, refers to, of course, the Knights Templar and the medieval order to which groups in the Neo-Templar tradition ultimately trace their lineage, which is why, by the way, when the 53 OTS deaths, it was supposed to be 54. The 53 in October 94, because it was really representing an attempt to mimic the 54 original Templar deaths, right?
Bro,
Yeah, brother.
Hold on. Like of the first Knights Templar order when they first started killing them. Yeah.
1310, 54 knights who had recanted earlier confessions were burned alive at the stake by Philip IV of France, I believe. And 4 years later, the Grand Master of the Order and a provincial leader were similarly burned alive. And the fires set or attempted by the Solar Temple members during all the murder-suicide incidents recounted above seem to have been inspired by the fiery deaths of the original Templars.
Because they burned these chateaus or these houses that they were in, bro. Right. So didn't they use one gun,
dude,
to commit,
by the way,
murder, or was that just something that
the weapon? Well, the claim is that they used this one fucking pistol, which couldn't have killed as many people as were even on the scene. It's totally ludicrous that they would even suggest that was the case.
It was like 25 people in this one place.
25, and then
all these bullets came from this gun, and it happened in a certain amount of time.
Yep. And by the way, they never recovered the weapon.
Right. Right.
And then they show there's all this evidence that shows that there was basically a military style flamethrower that's only available to the military. And so there's evidence of the fuel used in the military style flamethrower. And I'm forgetting the details. I can pull it up in a second because I have all the details of that case. But yeah, it's totally crazy because it does prove that, obviously we already know that you can't shoot yourself 6 times in the fucking head.
Right. Two
8 times in the head.
Shotgun blast to the head. Yeah.
I mean, come on now. Worst case I've ever seen. 100%, buddy. But anyway, all these different Neo-Templar groups and their esoteric organizations in the Theosophical tradition. It's without a doubt. You know what I mean? And the OTS specifically targeted wealthy, powerful individuals, right? Yep. Yeah, and so they were just kind of like, I remember this one watchmaker was a part of the group, and he was worth like millions of dollars, dude. You know what I mean? Like this guy, and later on, his wife leaves him and then sues the OTS to try and recover some of the finances that her husband had given the group. And because he basically just handed over, he had sold their entire property and just gave the money to
DeMambro.
Yeah.
Or I'm pretty sure Luke Jure handled their financials,
I think DeMambro largely did behind the scenes, and Jure was more the charismatic leader who's
the face of yeah.
He was literally he's like in order to, he said he needed in order to go through with his lectures, he had to have sexual intercourse to grant him the energy required. I swear to God, bro.
Dude, this sounds like something that Scientology carried.
Oh, dude.
Over. Or it was just like a sect of Scientology.
I think that Scientology, and I also am under the impression that Mormonism, they might be intelligence operations from day one, brother. Like I'm dead serious, man. And I'm not
Jehovah's
trying to
Witness was
insult
started by Charles Taze Russell, man, of the Russell satanic bloodline.
like at a certain point, man, like what the fuck is going on, you know? But I certainly don't believe, especially with how similar and also the direct ties that, you know, Robert de Grimston and his wife, when they founded the process, they were coming from Scientology.
No shit, dude. I didn't know that.
Heavily, they were directly
Oh,
connected.
wow.
Guess who de Grimston's buddy was?
Who?
L. Ron fucking Hubbard, dude. yeah, it just kills me, man.
Holy shit,
I
man.
know, dude. So
That's
no
amazing,
way in my
dude.
mind. Like that's why I think they have such direct ties to the Mormon Church in Utah, because the process basically settled there, and they're now an animal refuge called Best Friends or some shit.
The process, dude. So my co-host of Schizo News Network, Cody, oddfellowsbrand.com, everybody, if you want some sick ass conspiracy stickers and shirts and a bunch of cool shit. So we did, when I first started Greypilled, like I think it was episode 6 and 7. We covered some random stuff, but we talked mostly about the Process Church in both of these. And Cody, before I've heard of this a lot recently, because Cody's the first person that told me about the Getty House and all that stuff, and all the children under the Getty House, and that shit right there is a giant rabbit hole in itself, dude.
It's so crazy. You
To
have
me,
the
way too much evidence for something to not have happened yet.
The Catholics for Latin America and that organization is bringing in these untraceable children from South America and like Mexico and shit, and like and they're bringing them into the Carr household, basically. You know that, and which they're the ones, man, who were really involved with the 22 disciples of hell or whatever the fuck, you know, which it's a group within
Oh shit, dude.
yeah, it's basically, I think there were 21 others who were killed right after David Berkowitz was arrested.
Oh
yeah, it looks like clean house, motherfucker.
like some Goodfellas shit, dude.
Yes, because
Everyone dies, no
I think
witnesses.
they were overexposed, and they knew that it was going to trace back to the park in Yonkers, Untermeyer, which is where they were really performing most of these rituals at night in the Devil's Cave.
It's like, or was this underground?
It's in a fucking cave underground called the Devil's Cave, dude, in Untermeyer Park. And they were holding these rituals, and all these kids were going missing near Untermeyer. And they're like, what the fuck is happening? And it turns out that this satanic cult group, directly affiliated with the process. And then you have like these fucking criminal informants who were a part of a biker gang who was running security for the rituals at the park. And which, by the way, right behind Untermeyer lived Robert de Grimston. And so it's just like, holy fucking shit, dude.
So they're just neighbors, right? That's not a coincidence or anything. You know, like,
especially when there was a facility near a hospital right down in Untermeyer that's since been destroyed, that Detective James Rothstein, who was, honestly, he started on the human trafficking beat in 1969. His story's fucking nuts, dude. He arrested Frank Sturgis, one of the burglars in the Watergate. and Frank Sturgis, dude, and he interrogates him for over 2 hours.
Like, have connections to each other,
brother. He gave a geographical designation to the process where he's following them east. After he tracks them to this Untermeyer facility, they start freaking out when David Berkowitz gets exposed, and they basically leave town. Right. And he's tracking them. He's tracking them west. And as he's tracking them west, he's discovering all these killings. And, you know, one of which were like the smiley face killers. You know what I mean? Like which
my co-host Cody got into them on reality. The first time I heard him, he went on Reality Czars before my first podcast on Reality Czars. And he talked about the smiley face killers. He would love to meet you, man.
Oh, yeah.
He's the one person I knew that was into Marc Dutroux and knew who he was, and like so we had done an episode on that too. But yeah.
Yeah, it is. Like, honestly, bro, like I'm gonna have to do one on the smiley face killers because like it gets so much crazier than that, man. Like there are connections not only to that, but the Zodiac. You have Henry Lee Lucas. You have, and dude, Henry Lee Lucas is such a crazy story, man.
Now,
because
who's Henry Lee Lucas? I've heard of him, but like I said, some of these names you're throwing at me, bro. I'm like, oh, man. I've heard of some of these people, but
Right. Well, it's like I just couldn't believe the notorious criminals that were tied to the process, and that includes was it Bundy that was in Wisconsin? I'm trying to remember now. I think it was Ted Bundy, but it's like he's even tied to the process, which and
he's pretty sure part of that Bundy bloodline.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
The Illuminati bloodline, the Bundy family. I mean, how wouldn't he be?
Why wouldn't he be? Yeah,
for someone of that blood and that
isn't he the one who had that guy come visit him, and then he manipulated him into like helping him escape?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, and the guy's like this, like an ultra Christian, and thought he had like reached the guy and while he was in jail and like actually made some sort of positive influence, because if you remember, he had known him prior to all of this when he had got arrested. This was just some guy he was going to church with, and then he gets arrested as this psycho killer, right? Yeah. And this member of the church just keeps going and visiting him, and as he goes to visit him a few times, he just manipulates him into basically helping him escape, which I think is just the funniest fucking thing ever, but terrible also, because as soon as he escapes, he goes to like a female sorority house and brutally rapes and murders this girl, like fucked up, dude, after breaking in directly after escaping prison. That's what he did. But Henry Lee Lucas, though, dude, listen to this, bro. A U.S. Navy psychologist, right, who claims that the Office of Naval Intelligence had taken convicted murderers from military prisons, used behavior modification techniques on them, and then relocated them in American embassies throughout the world. The Navy psychologist was Lieutenant Commander Thomas Narut of the U.S. Regional Medical Center in Naples, Italy. Now, the information was divulged at an Oslo NATO conference of 120 psychologists from the 11-nation alliance. The Navy provided all the funding necessary, according to Dr. Narut. And Narut, in a question and answer session with reporters from many nations, revealed how the Navy was secretly programming large numbers of assassins. He said that the men he had worked with for the Navy were being prepared for commando-type operations as well as covert operations in U.S. embassies worldwide. He described the men who went through his program as hitmen and assassins who would kill on command. Careful screening of the subjects was accomplished by Navy psychologists through the military records, and many were convicted murderers serving military prison sentences. The Ionia State Mental Hospital in Michigan was later exposed as being one of many facilities complicit in the CIA's human behavioral modification research, otherwise known as MKUltra. And convicted serial killer Henry Lee Lucas, he's largely considered to have been one of many criminally insane patients who were unknowingly forced into the CIA's brutal experimentation while admitted at Ionia before being paroled in 1970 and killing at least 2 women before his final arrest in 1983.
Why the fuck was he paroled?
No shit. Especially when he allegedly, man, he's responsible for many more deaths than that and killing.
Oh, yeah,
because
sure.
When he was incarcerated, he falsely confessed to like 600 additional murders. And they claim that it's all false confessions. Some of them were proven to be false confessions, but I did find it interesting. 600. And to Texas Rangers, other officials. So listen to this shit. Adam Walsh was a 7-year-old boy who was abducted from a Sears department store in Hollywood at the Hollywood Mall in Hollywood, Florida in 1981, July 27th. His severed head was found 2 weeks later in a drainage canal alongside Highway 60. Convicted serial killer Otis Toole would repeatedly confess to Adams' kidnapping and murder, but would then retract his story before confessing to the crime all over again. He was never convicted of the crime because evidence was reportedly lost, and Toole ultimately recanted his confession until admitting to the crime one final time on his deathbed. So, Brutal Proof published an article in November 2013, and they made a compelling case that Otis Toole was the gay lover and partner in crime of another serial killer, Henry Lee Lucas. Lucas and Toole met at Jacksonville Soup Kitchen, and they soon developed a sexual relationship, which led to a cross-country crime spree together.
That's where it all starts.
And Lucas, he ends up getting arrested for killing an 82-year-old woman. And both told the story that they were members of a cannibalistic cult based in the Everglades called the Hand of Death.
Holy shit.
So
have you looked into this Hand of Death?
Brother, in Max Gall's book called The Hand of Death, Henry tells of his indoctrination into a nationwide satanic cult and says that he was trained by the cult in a mobile paramilitary camp in the Florida Everglades in the fine art of killing. Other training involved abduction and arson techniques. So he says the first task he was given was the murder of one of the students, a young black homosexual who had betrayed his oath to the devil. He slit the man's throat, and later that same evening, a satanic ritual was performed in which the dead man's heart was cut out, his blood drained, and his body dismembered. Jesus. All of the initiated members of the Hand drank the dead man's blood and ate pieces of his flesh.
Yeah.
The remains of the body were then burned at an altar, and there were several hundred students at the Hand of Death training camp, according to him, coming from 6 different countries. Over half of them were women, he says.
Holy shit, dude.
He says that the camp provided unlimited access to all kinds of drugs, which was encouraged recreational activity. They did contract killings for the Hand of Death, allegedly. He says that he was that he met a man calling himself Don Materick, who invited them to come to Miami and do contract killings for the Hand of Death. He says Materick and Toole eventually admitted to Lucas that Toole had already been working for Materick for years. And according to Court TV, Lucas later said that at the time he'd felt betrayed by Otis and manipulated by him into joining the cult. But that, I don't believe that, because Lucas happily stayed a member and committed many more murders at their behest. And the group allegedly operated on remote swamp islands deep in the fucking Everglades, accessible only by airboat. And that they would be tipped off when police helicopters would survey the Everglades so they would report no sign of the encampments. And so Lucas told interviewers at the Hand of Death, they had connections to elements within the U.S. government. And they were no doubt tipped off, like I said, in advance in order to remain unseen. And so that was also reiterated by Dave McGowan in Program to Kill, was the extraordinary fact that Lucas had claimed he was trained by that nationwide satanic cult in a mobile paramilitary training camp in the Everglades. So
they have fucking training camps for serial killers and serial rapists and serial pedophiles.
Yep. You want to know another crazy fucking fact?
The U.S. government.
With Henry Lee Lucas, because not only was, what I think lends more credibility to the idea is that he claimed the leaders of the camp were so impressed with his handling of the knife that he was allowed to serve as an instructor. But following his training, Henry claimed that he served the cult in multiple ways, many additional ways, including not only being a contract killer, but as an abductor of children who he delivered to a ranch in Mexico near Juarez. So 3 days before Lucas was scheduled to be executed, here's the part. Then Governor George W. Bush, infamous for refusing to grant stays of execution to any death row inmate, he did something he had never done before or since. He saved Henry Lee Lucas from the electric chair and commuted his sentence to life in prison instead. Like, is that not the craziest fucking story ever, dude? And it doesn't stop there because of all the inmates,
Henry carried out his oath, dude.
Yes,
they all took the same oath.
100%. There's an additional connection to the Bush family with this as well.
Oh, yes,
dude, it's so crazy. Because of all the inmates he sent to death, like many were clearly more deserving of leniency than fucking Henry Lee Lucas. I mean, he even put to death a great grandma who killed her abusive husband in self-defense. Yeah, 100%, dude. So Bush chose to spare the life of one of America's most notorious serial killers. And so
this was Herbert Walker, right?
This was George W. in Texas. Yeah, brother. Yeah, brother. Mm-hmm.
Old Magog.
Fucking nuts.
Yeah.
So McGowan goes on to point out in Program to Kill that it could just be a coincidence that Otis Toole, his Henry Lee Lucas's homosexual boyfriend and sidekick,
his butt buddy.
Yeah, so it could just be a coincidence that Toole, who was convicted in the state of Florida, shared with Henry the fate of having his death sentence commuted. Florida is, of course, a state that is also overly zealous in its application of the death penalty, but not zealous enough to execute the likes of Otis Toole, however.
Wait.
Stop. In any event, it's interesting that both of these men had their death sentences set aside by a member of the Bush family.
Texas and Florida, right?
Jeb was the other one. Yeah.
Get the fuck out, dude.
Fucking get out, dude. It's so crazy to me.
Holy shit, Austin.
I know.
Well, that confirms a lot of suspicion I had about the Bush family.
No shit, man. My God, dude. I heard that that Barry Seal had knowledge, like the reason that Barry Seal, that pilot that was involved with the drug running in Mina and with Pablo and all that shit, like he was found dead with a direct contact to George Bush Sr. in his pocket, right? And
do you know who that contact was, or
not entirely sure? It's just that was what was reported, was that he had a direct number, a direct line dialed up on his phone when he was executed in his car, and that basically he had been running drugs not only through Mina but also through Florida, right? And so what I found interesting was that allegedly there was footage of Jeb and George W. when they were younger at one of these black sites in Florida helping offload bales of cocaine from Barry's fucking plane, bro. Right? Which I 100% believe.
And Jeb looked like a little shit when he was younger, dude. Have you seen pictures of him?
No, I haven't.
Looks like a little fucking bastard, man. Yeah, no,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Terrible energy. So,
dude, and Barry Seal, you know that Barry Seal was also in the Louisiana CAP, the Civil Air Patrol that was ran by David Ferry. That was
5 dudes, right?
He was fucking all his Louisiana, because all these kids were a part of the Civil Air Patrol, and Lee Harvey Oswald was one of those kids. And David Ferry was hypnotizing members of the CAP and then raping them, having gay sex with them at parties. And they discovered all these different tools, hypnotic tools and hypnotic manuals and shit in David Ferry's house whenever they went and raided it.
I'm about to say, I wonder what kind of magic that would be to use to rape somebody.
Dude, you know what else is that Uh, the process church, it just happened to be incorporated incorporated by an attorney who, I think this is just totally insane, dude. Because this attorney that incorporated the process church, he just happened to be Thomas Jude Baumler was his name. All right. And he was a lawyer from Louisiana who was also a hypnotist and comes from this old Louisiana aristocracy whose dad was a member of the OSS. Right. And I found out that he basically, well, it was through Timothy Wiley that I kind of found this out as well, because Thomas Jude Baumler, this lawyer and hypnotist, was also a bishop of the American Orthodox Catholic Church who had worked out of Guy Bannister's office in New Orleans in the months leading up to the JFK assassination, right? And yeah, exactly.
Right.
Honestly, man, like they really are hypnotists, all of them. I don't understand it. Like they are all like expert hypnotists who tend to use different methods, drugs as well, to basically control these. Like I couldn't believe how David Ferry, once again, like all these individuals who are surrounding the JFK assassination, all the Watergate stuff, this weird cabal of intelligence agents, they all seem to be homosexual around this time. It's fucking strange, dude.
Yeah,
I don't understand
see
it.
a lot.
Yeah.
Almost as if it is some kind of induction or ritual that you have to go through. Because I don't think all these guys were gay at first.
No. And half of them seem to be like bisexual, and it's more of a power complex thing.
Well,
right?
It's a duality thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it goes back into the occult.
That makes sense.
Yeah, man, they all have to participate in these duality practices. It's part of their oath in a way.
That fucking makes sense, dude.
Yeah.
Especially when, by the way, dude, this is in the same vein because I brought up Charles Manson earlier, and according to author Michael Newton in his book Raising Hell, in 1967, hanging out around a San Francisco landmark called the Devil House, Manson started rubbing shoulders with a morbid cult from England called the Process Church of the Final Judgment. That's before he even went down to LA, bro. Like when he was in San Francisco, before he even went down to LA with the first members of the family from the Haight-Ashbury Free Medical Clinic, hanging out with fucking Dr. Jolly and basically, right?
Yeah.
He starts rubbing shoulders in 67, brother. The murders don't happen until 69, and he's already hanging out at the Devil House in San Francisco with members of the Process. And as one family member described the scene for author Ed Sanders, the Devil House people, dude, the Devil House people said it was a religious order, and it went under many ancient names, one of them being the Champions of Life, another one being the Final Church of Judgment. The Final Church is the name Manson chose for the church he would eventually found. Aside from its name, Manson also borrowed his concept of the fear from Process spokesman, along with the cult's program for recruiting outlaw biker gangs to terrorize society on the eve of Armageddon. So this association with the Process seemed to follow Manson and the family south to LA near the end of 67. And Adam Gorightly explains in his book, The Shadow over Santa Susana, that before heading to LA for the Universal recording sessions, Charlie had met a woman in San Francisco named Gina, who, according to Manson, in his own words, he remembered as a trippy broad, about 45 years old, who experimented with everything and was pumped up on devil worship. Gina extended an invitation for Charlie to visit her in LA at an old 2-story Gothic mansion she owned in Topanga Canyon, which Charlie's family later nicknamed the Spiral Staircase due to the circular stairs at the entrance of the residence. Later, during his Universal Studio sessions, Charlie needed a place to park the family bus for a while, and so he decided to take up Gina on her offer. So, as the author Ed Sanders noted, The spiral staircase became a scrounge lounge for Manson and his girls over the next few months. The spiral staircase also was known as the Rattlesnake Pit and was a fabled meeting place of people beautiful and weird, a party house and freak out pad, home to light shows, acid orgies, and occult rituals. And researcher Salvador Astucia, he says the spiral staircase was once owned by Bela Lugosi and later the popular LA rock group Arthur Lee's Love, who's tied in with the whole Laurel Canyon scene.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he lived there for a period. And so Charlie described the spiral staircase as a house of transition, a place where those who walked the straight and narrow could come to the dark of night and indulge in what they preached against during daylight hours. At the spiral staircase, you would find celebrities and prominent sports figures, and one occasion, those who wore the cloth. It was a melting pot of different occult groups and religious practices, then being bandied about, much in the same way that different drugs became fashionable for a period of time, then were replaced by the next strange elixir to show up on the market, promising immortal life, or at the very least, a fleeting flash illumination. Each time Charlie returned to the spiral staircase, he'd see something new and different, and not all of it was love and flowers. He started talking about animal sacrifices and the drinking of blood, apparently taking place upon the hallowed spiral staircase grounds in conjunction with satanic sex rituals, some located out on the beach near the property, apparently directed by the house owner, Gina. So it gets crazier than that because Charlie picked up Charlie picked up like various methods from his time at the spiral staircase, but
So he learned these occult practices from hanging out with the Process Church.
Yeah, 100%, and also had learned techniques of for how to hypnotize people, dude. Like, if, by the way, great example of that is the fact that fucking Charles Manson, bro, while he was still in LA County Jail attempting to appeal the revocation of his probation before he was transferred to McNeil Island, I found this fucking crazy story, super bizarre, told by fellow inmate that you might know well, by the name of Danny Trejo, the fucking actor.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So he just so happened, brother. He just so happened to share the county lockup with Mr. Charles Manson during his sentencing in 1961. And he described him as greasy, dirty, scrawny, so poor he didn't have a belt, and instead used a piece of string to keep up his pants. Trejo said in his book that he felt sorry at the time for Manson, who was too small to protect himself. But a few days after meeting the notorious criminal, allegedly told Trejo and his pals that he had hypnotic powers that could get us high. All right. So it was like a guided meditation, Trejo wrote, adding that Manson had the group believing they were smoking marijuana and then injecting heroin using his words alone.
Holy shit, dude.
By the time he described it hitting my bloodstream, I felt the warmth flowing through my body, recalled Trejo, who was a teenage heroin addict. If that white boy wasn't a career criminal, he could have been a professional hypnotist. Quote. What the fuck? I thought that was the craziest fucking story ever, dude, when I found that.
Dude, that's the beauty about this research that you do, Austin, is you go into places that a lot of people don't go, man, and that takes a lot of balls. Takes a lot of heart, dude. And you're making, I mean, you've made a huge difference in this community already, and you're doing it daily. You and Jose, man. Like, I really got to get Jose on here with you too, just because I know you know about it, to talk about OKC.
Oh man, Jose's the best, brother.
Terrence Eke and
oh man,
yeah.
I called my episode on that. I called it "The Tale of Two Suicides" because I covered Kenneth Trinidad as well.
You want to talk about that maybe just a little bit before we get out of here, or
man, it's just that case is really just honestly, it's so extraordinary. To me, it was really like a massive red pill for me, you know, because
Right.
like that was how, honestly, not only OKC but Waco and Ruby Ridge, all three of
Ruby
those.
Ridge was one of the first that
Ruby Ridge was the shit.
that movie I saw when I was younger, the one with Randy Quaid in it.
Yeah, that Lifetime.
Yeah, man. And you see that his son gets shot, and you're like,
Oh my God, brother.
this happened? And then I went and researched it, and I'm like, fuck the government. You know,
100%.
like
Isn't that the takeaway? Like, honestly, because for me, brother, like when I went, it was Ruby Ridge that was my, honestly, probably my critical red pill moment, because Waco always affected me, and I think all three of them are just so similar in the way they affected me, but Ruby Ridge was just, it was something that I could relate to and resonated with me to such an extent, because I felt like reading through that story, I felt like I was 14-year-old little Sammy on the farm growing up with my dog and my gun, you know?
man.
And it just fucking broke
Killed his
my
fucking
soul
dog,
reading
his
through that
mom.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
man.
especially when you have, like, you know, the reports of what you know, Sarah had told, and you have, like, dude, that entire thing was legitimately like propped up as this sort of media pretext, you know, and it was
Guy
clearly
was a neo-Nazi when he just wanted to like live off grid and own guns.
Yep.
That's all he wanted to do.
all he wanted to do, man. And to have, you know, the deputy U.S. Marshal open fire first, clearly open fire first, and open fire on the dog.
He
Striker.
got his, didn't he? So
Fuck yeah, he did.
yeah, he did.
But I'm also concerned that maybe he wasn't, like, you know, I'm just concerned about the narrative, because
yeah,
it serves them, like, it's just so strange that the guy who committed the killing is the one who died, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, that's very convenient. I mean, maybe you could say that it was deliberate retaliation at the time, just from just sheer reaction from being in you know, attacked, right? And let alone Lon Horiuchi and the sniper and all the crazy shit that happened, right? Because when you hear, like, the Justice Department report of the Ruby Ridge task force, right after the gunfight, when the FBI was notified of the killing of the U.S. Marshal, and the Marshal Service Special Operations Group was alerted to deploy, the immediate thing that happened, because this was all a false report, right? Like, that they were acting as if they were under fire. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they had this character assessment report of Randy that made him out to be this fucking psychopath who would shoot anyone on sight, and it was a total fucking lie. But if you read that, a character assessment, and you were just an operative on the ground, you know, reporting to the scene, you're in full blown, like, and again, I'm not defending them, but you're in, you know, the tension is just ratcheted up. You're at a very high level of, yeah. So that's all I'm saying. They're going in ready for a fight already. So it's kind of just seemed like they wanted this terrible tragedy to occur, right? And especially when you hear Sarah's version of it all, you know, it's just so sad, dude, because Sarah just perfectly describes how these people were hunting their family. You know what I mean? It's just fucking nuts to me that
Sarah's
was
the daughter, right?
Yeah, Sarah Weaver. Yeah,
Sarah.
She had actually helped her Randy write a book, I believe, afterward. But yeah. Anyway, it's a pretty insane account. But yeah, and I also thought that just the PatCon aspect of it all, right, where it was clearly an operation, right, and they were attempting to, I think they wanted pretext and a narrative in the public, to seed this narrative of we have a white supremacist problem, and we basically have to crack down
in a Second Amendment
Yep.
problem.
And we have to crack down on exactly, man. Dude, to that point, it's like as far as a pretext to basically manufacture consent for landmark gun legislation is kind of what is always taking place with a lot of the mass shootings that occur, right? That's kind of what my perspective was on the James Holmes Cinema 16 Aurora, Colorado situation, because when I went into that, and like I said, I'm like kind of obsessing over this modern Manchurian beat, this thread that seems to just be never ending, right? And it looks like, because when I covered the Vegas shooting as well, Stephen Paddock has a mind control story that he's telling about how he was basically a government experiment, and his brain could be hacked into at any point in time and utilized by his operative or by his handlers, and that gets very strange. But when I was doing the James Holmes episode, I found this Dr. Robert Duncan, who was this Harvard graduate, and he's an investigator and author of this book called Project Soul Catcher: Secrets of Cyber and Cybernetics Revealed. And it's a fucking crazy book,
Soul
dude.
Catcher.
Yep. And he explained in this interview in like 2012 that over the past 10 years, he had personally interviewed more than 650 people who claimed to have been under government mind control. Many of them said they were in the Manchurian Candidate ID program free. He went to the Senate Intelligence Committee and met with 26 senators, as well as the head of the LA FBI. After he worked with this consortium of scientists on a research project for over 8 years, he provided the closest estimate he could reach, that there are about 10,000 Manchurian candidates in the works being programmed by the CIA right now that can be used at any time around the world. However, he concluded by explaining that only a small percentage actually become successful Manchurians. This allegedly allows the CIA to subvert certain international laws forbidding the agency to engage in the assassination of foreign leaders through the strategy of indirection, or utilizing agency handlers to indoctrinate individuals into these Manchurian candidate programs, self-righteously asserting plausible deniability after the fact. And so, according to this Dr. Robert Duncan, a lot of these alleged mass shooters, such as James Holmes, fall into this Manchurian candidate category as well. And he suggests that one of the ultimate priorities is to predominantly manufacture consent for landmark gun legislation, largely encouraging Americans to disarm themselves. So through a combination of drugs, manipulative psychological techniques, and advanced cybernetics, they have achieved many of the goals of the CIA's top secret program in human behavioral modification, or Project MKUltra. He explains that the modern day technology, it doesn't require brain implants, although they do work very well, but they seem to rely much more on post-hypnotic suggestion. And one of their goals was to create split personality spies so they could pass information without even knowing it, and even commit murder with no memory of the crime so they could still pass a polygraph test. Among the various techniques used throughout this process is something called the voice of God technology. So
I've heard of that.
Yeah, that exists for sure. And you know how they're already utilizing it with like Amazon Alexa and shit to like have the voice of a dead relative, like your grandma, reading to your child, you know, or their grandson, let's say, after they're dead. Just having a little bit of their voice recorded, they can then utilize that and have the AI using this voice of God technology, supposedly, to then recreate and literally read an audio book in your dead grandma's voice. You know, now imagine exactly Nephilim technology, 100%.
Fallen angel technology, 100%.
So imagine because I also heard that they could just pull up outside your house, flip into a frequency, an electromagnetic frequency, and then you're theirs. They own you. It's almost like the devil's breath, scopolamine or some shit, you know?
Yeah, dude.
Dude, the
That's
devil's breath. Have you looked into that? They in South America, and
yes.
there's
Yes.
this powdered form. They can just
Yes.
blow it into your face,
And
and then
you become a zombie basically, right?
fully mind controlled. They say that they own you. They can take you to a fucking ATM and have you withdraw every fucking dime that you have. They could have you lie in a bathtub while they take out your kidney. I mean, 100%.
Yeah. Think about if they concentrated that devil's breath, and who knows what they could make, dude.
Dude, they said that they have, basically, because I read all these different statistics, the crime stats, bro, that show like there's this one place, like 44% of this specific style of crime, right, was reported scopolamine use by the criminals, dude, to acquire access to the person's mind. That's basically literally it, what they were describing. And they said like it was basically 20% reported in general in this one country. 20% of crimes involving burglary and kidnapping had scopolamine involved. So I'm like, holy shit, man! Like, it seems to be a very useful, agent and drug for these criminal organizations, or especially intelligence. You would imagine, because they said that not only is there a powdered form, they have it in like they could slap it on your arm and then
Inline it. Yeah.
100%. It's already in like they stick it on your arm. It's like nicotine patch, basically, almost,
Dude.
But,
So when you said that there's 10,000 Manchurian candidates, when was this?
brother, that was 2012.
Oh, shit, dude.
Yeah,
Add 12 years to that, man.
that's what I'm saying,
There
man.
has to be at least over 250,000.
Dude.
Or okay, I was thinking 100,000. So maybe up to 100,000 now.
And with the voice of God technology that I just mentioned, they said that they were utilizing it even while that these subjects were asleep, right? And it would keep them. Yeah, it
That's
allegedly
scary
kept
as fuck,
them in dissociative states and can allegedly be programmed with subliminals while sleeping. So, yeah, that's why I kind of like. I had a fucking insane nightmare not long ago. It was fucking crazy, dude. I can't remember too many details, but I remember, look, this could be just like a level of my subconscious from all the different research. Yeah. I think it's spelled a little differently. I don't think there's a U. I think there's another O. Yeah. I think it's an OPOL, I believe. I think something like that. I can't remember now, but
it's close. It's close, Deacon.
Close, bro. But yeah, so apparently these targets can also be manipulated through the use of microwave hearing effects or voice transformation, such as using the voice of a dead relative, like I said, to implant ideas in the subject's mind. So neuroscience, according to Dr. Robert Duncan, has become the modern battleground where war wages on over the control of the human mind, cybernetic warfare. And he has this insane quote in the book, and he says, the 21st century will be known as the age of spiritual machines and soulless men. And I fucking just thought that was a badass quote.
Yeah. Terrifying, man. And I think about it. I mean, there's a lot of theories that this AI is the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim.
Jesus.
I forgot who it was, but he was talking about he was interviewing one of these soldiers who became some kind of whistleblower who worked in one of these deep underground military bases, these domes. And he was saying how down there are like 12-foot giants that are just like
Jesus
hanging out with the military and that that this AI is. There was also another story. I forgot where I heard it, man. I should have. Yeah, it's a bunch of podcasts that I've listened to. And fucking Instagram shorts and
Dude, I know how it is, brother. It's a toxic wasteland in my mind. I don't know how the fuck I keep anything together, I swear.
But that he asked the AI who your father was. And bro, he told him some fallen angel's name.
Holy shit.
May have even been Samael, but he was basically like, yeah, I am the son of one of the fallen.
Jesus.
I used to be a Nephilim in a past life or some shit, dude. And it's just like this person is just like communicating with chat. I don't know if it was Chat GPT. I'm sure it was some early form of AI communication. The shit's just scary, dude. And I mean, yeah, like my intro may be AI, but I mean, it's,
we can utilize it to our advantage for a time.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
To use it for something else. You don't have to use it to
and to repurpose it for a positive,
Yes.
Let's do it that way. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Like getting information out there and talking about stuff and
that's why I love what Thomas does too, man.
Out of darkness. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's so brilliant, and I think it's just so valuable. And to create these alternative systems, like it's the only fucking way to fight back and resist it at all, And so,
even with all the music that he's created, dude. Like at first, when we
genre, brother, that's an unfulfilled thing that we all need to just capitalize on. Like, why not? People have been so scared and intimidated by the reality of the origin of that term alone. We know where it came from. I mean, the CIA utilized it to basically dismiss and discredit people and undermine any sort of questioning of the Warren Commission report in regards to the JFK assassination. So it was all about just using it as a pejorative to attempt to derail anyone from looking into the truth, right?
Create another psyop of
So I think it's up to us to basically embrace it and realize that it's a beautiful term. And I'm proud to be a conspiracy theorist. So fuck off. It's like, yeah, exactly. All it means is that we refuse to take the false narratives any longer. And we need actual evidence and truth to, before we make any sort of conclusion and come to any sort of conclusion. And that's only called being a rational, logical human being. That's,
exactly. Ask questions, man.
Stand for something with, and rely on our principles, and I think that's another thing is like, how many people have even really isolated and defined their own core principles and core values to where they know what they stand for morally and ethically, as far as their foundation that they allegedly rely on, just for their character alone.
Yeah.
And you wonder why people are so just self-centered,
Well, you have them worrying about all these world problems, and it's like you have to what's that saying? You have to clean you have to like take care of your own backyard before you take care of the world or some shit. I don't know. I just butchered that. But you need to make sure that all your shit is in order, and like, no one's perfect. You know what I mean? And that's a constant struggle every day, especially like we were talking about earlier, man, like people who used to be addicts like me and you, like especially, living here where I live, man, it was hard for a while. I had to move to the country and get the fuck away from everybody.
Right. Your environment, brother. Isn't that it? You got to change your environment. That's
change yourself. Yep. And then you can change other things around you.
100%, man.
Yeah.
And that moment in my life, it forced me to reflect on my own personal decisions that I had made, led me into the place that I was, that made me so miserable. And that alone, I really do believe is the reason that I'm even here in this very moment, because it's like I was granted the gift of reflection and honest reflection, where I could admit where I was wrong and admit that I
Yeah.
had been deceived by so much,
Yeah.
and so much of what I thought I believed was just manipulation, you know, and and really a way to guide you into the wrong path in every way, you know. And so it's like it is by design. They are attempting to steal our souls, right? And I know that's a strange way to put it, but I think that it is almost like spiritual warfare at a
That's
certain
exactly
point.
what it is, dude. In
Yeah.
every facet of everything that we talk about. Um, yeah, it's they're trying to jack our loosh, as Sam Tripoli
Yeah.
always.
In the words of Sam Tripoli.
Yeah, man. Um,
100%.
and so yeah, but one way, I mean, I find to not let that happen is to walk with Christ and have discernment about things, man. It's very important. I've said it a million times.
Exactly.
You have to know. You have to know what you're doing in life. Basically, if you want to get, I'm trying to think of a good way to word this.
Right.
You can't. Okay, so there's things that you can't change, right? But you can change your life, dude. Like my own testament of my life is crazy for me because I thought that I wouldn't live past like 25.
Dude, it was 27 was always the mark,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Same for
And
me, man. I wondered why all my idols were like Jim Morrison and Kurt Cobain and shit, and like just like people that all died when they were 27 because of drug overdose or suicide or murder and Cobain's, you know.
yeah, dude.
But honestly, bro. Oh, and by the way, you know who was on Epstein's plane hanging out with like Chris Tucker and Kevin Spacey and shit? Fucking Courtney Love, bro. It's just like, oh my god, the MK Ultra sex kitten herself, right?
Dude. Yeah, the honeypot herself, man.
That is exactly. It's just so
Yeah,
crazy
she
to
was
me, man.
definitely his
That
demise,
private
dude.
investigator who's like, oh, she killed him, bro. Like, I love
Yeah,
that shit. It's
yeah.
the best.
No, we know she killed him.
100%. It's
But
just
like what you were saying, dude, when you can acknowledge the mistakes you've made, here's what I was trying to say, and you can move past those, it can make a hell of a difference, dude, in your life and those around you. And you can see these things manifest daily if you pay attention. It's hard to live in the moment, dude, especially with all the distractions of modern day society. It's very hard to live in the moment.
I think
And
I struggle with that more than anything, brother.
yeah, man.
Yeah,
I
100%.
mean, do you have kids or do you?
I don't. No,
Right.
just my lady
It's
and my
coming.
dog. Yeah.
It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. You know what, brother? Like honestly, I don't know. Like it's the injustice of of it all that kind of like drew me to some of these subjects, but it's really also I want to know what I need to like. It was almost like I need to be prepared on what I have to defend against,
You're
and
right.
it's like man, and so just out of like when I read these things and I read about child trafficking and stuff, and I like images of my nephew that I love more than anything on the planet, and I would die and kill for, flood into my mind, and it's like it's personal for me, like.
Yeah.
It's just like I don't see how people look at it any other way. It's like, oh, they're not my kids, so fuck it. What? I mean, like, it's too dark, so I don't want to expose myself to that. But it's happening, brother. You know what I mean? And like, I feel like people, unfortunately, they kind of like too often use that as an excuse, as if you expose yourself to this darkness, then you'll be forever affected in this negative way. And it's like, yes, but you're also armed with information that is so necessary to just be able to identify the paradigm we exist in,
Yeah.
right? And the level of evil that is possible, right? And then maybe you won't fall for the next layer of lies and deceit that is being, you know, perpetuated around us as this layer of fog clouds our judgment and our vision for the future. And it's like you wonder why. It's all by design to keep you in the dark, so you continue to make that very same decision, and therefore you maintain this current system and
the cycle.
yes, repeats itself. And it's
man,
it's
you got to
sick,
break that
man.
cycle.
Yeah, 100%. And that's my ultimate goal, man, is to poison people, as far as slip them the poison pill when it comes to their perspective on the state. Because so too often, in every case that I point to, there's involvement when it comes to elite officials within the government.
Way too often, also, it's too close for comfort, right?
If they didn't have power, if they had no power, well, shit, you know, I mean, they would be getting arrested and shit, and like there would be consequences, right? You know, if there was no power, I wouldn't really care very much, because it probably wouldn't be as much of a prolific, right? Like, I mean, it's a sickness, man.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the darkest aspect of human nature. You know what I mean? And it's just like there's nothing worse than victimizing a child, right? Nothing, brother. And yet it seems like, and by the way, Detective James Rothstein, one of the first people on the beat in '69, investigating human trafficking in the NYPD, and he 100% said that 70%. He said, look, he had a task force, man, with other detectives who were honestly investigating this before they were shut down and their careers were ended, and they tracked an international child trafficking network that was directly connected to the highest levels of government, including Roy Cohn, who's getting children provided to him by the Process Church. Yes, at his Massachusetts home, while he's having parties, using these children to sexually blackmail prominent politicians. Roy Cohn is the mentor to Donald Trump. Roy Cohn. Yes,
just about to say, dude, all these people expect these politicians to save them, and it's like they haven't done a fucking thing about shit that's been happening forever.
I know, and it's just
why would they give a fuck about you?
100%,
right?
100%. And so he said, Detective James Rothstein, he said, over the course of his years of investigating this, he tracked it all the way Australia to the network that involves what's her name? What's the actress that was married to Tom Cruise? Nicole Kidman. That involves her father who's directly connected to MK Ultra.
And Barnett, like I was bringing up earlier, she talks about these Australian politicians and these elite groups in like public buildings, decapitating children.
Yep.
And drinking their blood. And that, and then R.I.P. Ted Gunderson.
Oh, man.
And, him and Kathy O'Brien.
Kathy O'Brien,
That's what first got me
into it. Monarch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy, dude. Her story of her dad and what he did to her.
Yeah, man.
And that he was basically trained by the Catholic clergy in Massachusetts on how to do those things to her when she was 5 years old. He would like blindfold himself and like, yeah. And so she couldn't see the facial expressions he was making while he raped her when she was 5. Yeah, dude.
Shit, man.
Yeah, brother. That's the kind of shit that he was doing. And he had learned those techniques because it was a way to implement the alters and the DID, the dissociative identity disorder.
At the same time, he's harnessing all this dark energy from it that no one even knows is really happening because they're not familiar with the occultism side of it. Like, I mean, you are,
Dude,
'cause
all
it's explained in the mainstream.
there's like some of these clergymen, they're clearly operating on a different belief system where they're holding black masses and occult rituals. Like that's what they're doing. And like that's who Thomas Lee Baum or Thomas Baumler. Yeah, that's the guy who incorporated the Process Church. He dude, that fucking guy. He was also in the clergy, also hanging out with David Ferry, who was also a clergyman, and claimed that David Ferry got kicked out of the clergy because he was homosexual. But he was raping little boys all the time. So yeah, it's just like, my God, man, and so Tommy Baumler, like I said, he's an American Orthodox Catholic Church bishop and hypnotist. Okay. Had worked out of Guy Bannister's office in New Orleans leading up to the JFK assassination. Same place that Lee Harvey Oswald was running the Fair Play for Cuba committee. Yeah. The address that he had on those flyers that he was passing out was Guy Bannister's office right down the street, office in military naval intelligence.
Wasn't Lee Harvey Oswald like related to Bush?
I don't know, but I know that he was staying.
Or was that Jack Ruby?
It could have been. I can't remember that connection to either of them, but I do remember that Ruby, dude, Jolly West goes and visits Jack Ruby right before he testifies, right? And within a half an hour, Jack Ruby has a complete and total psychological break, and he never can come back. And then he dies before. But
so he went in there and just said a word.
He scrambled his fucking brains, brother. He had a hypnotic access code of some kind that he slipped to Jack Ruby, and then all of a sudden, Jack's saying, he's yelling at the people, the officials that he's testifying in front of. He claimed he was going to tell all. That's what he said he was going to do before this. And then all of a sudden, he has this psychological break immediately after being visited by Jolly West, and he says that he hears Jews being burned alive outside his cell. Yeah, dude, 100%, bro. I couldn't believe that fucking story. It's a crazy one to me.
Oh God, dude!
I know.
Why Jews, man?
Yeah, why Jews? I'm curious as well, for sure, dude.
Oh man.
One last thing that I think I wanted to say about Baumler though was that so he was infiltrating left-wing college groups and reporting back to the office of Guy Bannister at that time leading up to the JFK assassination. And he had allegedly been recruited by another bishop and former Bannister employee named Jack Martin. And so author Peter Levenda wrote about this in a series of articles he titled The Bishop and the Boys, claiming that Jack Martin remained a bishop with the American Orthodox Catholic Church to the end of his days, even going so far as to bring in another Bannister associate, the corpulent attorney and unapologetic racist Thomas Jude Baumler, to the Orthodox fold, consecrating Baumler a bishop in August of 1974, nearly 11 years after the Kennedy assassination and 7 years after the beginning of the Garrison investigation and the death of both Archbishop Christopher Maria C.J. Stanley and David Ferry, who happened to be consecrated by Stanley into his church in 1961, along with Jack Martin, Guy Bannister, and many others in Bannister's office. What a weird thing. Now, they're all homosexual, by the way. Guy Bannister claiming homosexual, yeah. So Levenda claims from personal correspondence with an individual involved with this affair, I learned that Baumler had already been ordained a priest by Stanley years before. In other words, prior to Stanley's death in March of 1967. So Baumler's status in New Orleans society was assured. He came from an old family and was associated with one of the famous Mardi Gras crews. His father was even a part of the original Office of Strategic Services, or OSS. And in addition, according to Levenda's informant, Baumler was also a Mason and belonged to the same lodge the Étoile Polaire Lodge of the French Grand Orient as Mafia Don Carlo Marcello,
Holy
one
shit.
of the men for whom David Ferry was allegedly working for on the day of the assassination. So one final note on Tommy Baumler, which perfectly dovetails with the story of the Process Church, provides yet another tangible connection to the process. And it is the fact that Tommy Baumler is the attorney who helped incorporate the process and even helped select its full name, the Process Church of the Final Judgment. Isn't that so fucking nuts, dude?
Full fucking circle, man.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Everything about Tommy Baumler, like Timothy Wiley, who he's a former member of the process, right? And he wrote a book called Love, Sex, Fear, and Death. The inside story of the Process Church of the Final Judgment, my life inside the Process Church. And he describes that the magazine was selling well, and the chapters, now in a number of cities, were bringing in money at last. We had a theology, and it seemed a rational next step to incorporate as a church with a tax-exempt status. An attorney was needed to conduct the business, and New Orleans, with its overlay of of sensuous spirituality, felt an appropriate place to do it.
Yep.
We stumbled into the attorney, the late, great Tommy Baumler. Others might recall, perhaps it was his irreverent flamboyance that magnetized us together. He was already immensely fat, and as I picture him in my mind's eye, I see him hunched in a darkened office, an overhead fan barely disturbing the heavy, dank air. A lenticular cloud of cigar smoke hangs above his head like a dirty halo. He was gruff, cynical, rude, and very funny. We were charmed. Everything about Tommy Baumler was dark. He thought we were a great joke, and he loved the idea of turning us into a regular church. Much of the flowery, pompous language in the incorporation papers came directly from Tommy's fevered imagination. We had to talk him out of calling us the Church of Christ and Satan, as being simply too provocative, finally settling on the Church of the Final Judgment.
Imagine if they chose the other one.
So as the story goes, Tommy Baumler, Freemason, expert hypnotist, a bishop of the American Orthodox Catholic Church, and son of veteran OSS officer working out of Guy Bannister's office, also happened to found the phony intelligence front organization known as the Louisiana Psychoanalytic Association just before he helped incorporate and even name the Process Church of the Final Judgment. So that's fucking nuts, right? I just always thought, man, like, of course, that is how the process was incorporated. You know what I mean? Like, the direct ties to, yes, the darkest, most sinister corner of intelligence. And honestly, man, like, dude, they're all clearly involved with secret societies, right?
The fact that all of these fucking groups come back to one place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me, but hearing you explain it like you have blows my fucking mind, dude. Like, I've never been this, like, frazzled. Frazzled, get it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been this, like, I have to go look into, like, I have to go read about some of this shit now, bro.
Dude. That girl, Rotting Jewels, Dana Duda.
Dana. Yeah,
she's a fucking badass, bro. And
I've seen what she's done with the Process Church, dude. She's a badass.
Dude, yeah, she's really much more of an expert on the process than I am, and she's tracked it all the way to modern day with the Best Friends organization.
Guys, like
do what?
Hadn't she had guys message her and be like, "Hey, you need to fucking cut it out," like,
dude. The same guy who's fucking with her a little bit, Manny Grossman. Dude. His dad, Operation Mockingbird, his dad was running PR for Epstein.
Holy shit.
Yeah, dude, his dad's connected to like Rubenstein and Associates or some shit, which was running PR for Epstein. And also he's involved with all these other super, like, just insanely like monumental cases where he's like covering up for murdering like a murder of this prostitute involved with like a sports analyst and shit. And like yeah, he's tied into some dark places. And his son, Manny Grossman, commented like 12 fucking times on my Son of Sam tweet the other day. Because it turns out, and I thought he was a really good resource at first when I found him, because
Oh shit, dude!
Yeah,
What the fuck did he say to you?
dude, well, he said like, this has all been officially debunked. I can't believe that it, like he took that,
Faggot.
brother. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's literally
fuck
what I said. I was like,
fuck
if you
you,
use
Manny.
the term debunked, you're a faggot, dude. Like, come on, man. but yeah, so he it's so strange. To me, it clearly he's a disinformation operative or something. He's like clearly like
Well, clearly he's been diddled by his dad too much.
dude. Look at a picture.
Sorry,
of the guy.
I didn't want. I'm
No.
talking about a lot of real dark shit.
It's okay.
Fuck
But,
this guy, especially if he's gonna come at you too.
Dude, I just couldn't believe that. Well, she's dropping bombs on him. She's the one who's
She
like
is.
exposing all this shit. It's brilliant, dude. I loved it.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't even want to engage with the guy. I'm like, fuck this, man. Like, if you come at me with in bad faith like that, with like energy like that, where you're like attempting to debunk something, and you're clearly not willing to have an open-minded conversation about it, go fuck yourself.
You'll
You
fuck
know what I mean?
yourself, man. Yeah.
I don't
No,
have time for that.
you're absolutely right, Austin.
Yeah, brother. But I did think it was hilarious that he was kind of, he's just his story, because he kind of was trying to almost gain credibility in the community for a time, where he's approaching the story of Maury Terry was the author of The Ultimate Evil, and really, you know, the guy who broke all of this, and especially the connection to the process, a lot of the Manson connections. He mentioned, so did author Ed Sanders, who's a really great resource as well. But Maury Terry was the shit, and this guy, he takes the approach of, at first he's like providing all this additional evidence that's kind of like facilitating Maury Terry's narrative, but then all of a sudden he pivots and he starts trying to, in my opinion, he's clearly trying to undermine and discredit Maury and all of his work. And now that's clearly where he is. He's gone the exact opposite end of the spectrum, to where now he's claiming that none of the Luciferian connections were there, none of the process connections were there, none of the satanic ritual abuse, and he chalks it all up conveniently
to satanic panic,
bro. And I was like, this motherfucker right here. It killed me, dude. It fucking killed me, man. But
oh man, you
100%.
can't make this shit up, man. I mean, God.
I know, dude. I know.
Well,
Yeah, dude, I will. I'll save your number for sure, dude. And I'll text you tonight. That way, you have mine too. You can hit me up whenever. But I had a good time, bro.
Yeah, this was awesome, guys. Thank y'all for watching. It's been 3 hours.
Damn, bro, that's probably
yeah,
the longest
man.
I've ever done. Honestly,
No shit, dude.
I've gotten close for
Well,
sure. But
I usually go for a while. As long as anyone wants to go, I'm down, dude.
It was worth it. I had a damn good time, brother.
Hell yeah, man. Me too, dude. We have to do this again. Like I said, I want to get Jose on to talk about OKC.
That would be so
he's
fun.
busy. I know he's busy for a few more weeks, but hopefully we can get him on soon, and you can join him. And yeah, man, we can have a good time like we did tonight. Talk about a whole busload of fucking shit, like a whole new, like I'm sure there's tons of different cults, but just conspiracies in general that
There's
we could
so
dive
much we can
super
touch,
deep on, because I see that you like to dive deep, dude, and I fucking love that.
Hell
So
yeah, thank you.
that really shows a lot about you and your character, and you really take this stuff seriously, man. And that's good. You know, you don't see that a lot. So you want to tell people where to find you, bro?
Yeah, definitely, man. And I can't thank you enough for saying all that, brother. Honestly, that means the world to me. And
Mean it, man. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and fuck with everyone watching. If they've watched me before, they know I'm pretty real about shit. I don't try to like act a certain way on camera. If I look fucking crazy or like autistic, like, it is what it is. You know
exactly. No, I think just being genuine and authentic is really the only way to resonate with anyone anyway, right?
Yeah,
because like I know for myself, just personally, I can sense and smell just when someone's being disingenuous and just putting on a front. Like it's so obvious, and
it's obvious as fuck. And you don't see that a lot in this community. If you do, they're usually in and out from what I've seen, or they have their own echo chamber.
Yeah. Honestly, man, I've only had good experiences throughout this. I've only really had good experiences throughout this. And luckily, nobody's like asked me to come on that seems to be operating in bad faith and trying to like, catch me in something, which I don't know why you would even approach someone like that in the first place, but it hasn't happened. And really, I've only had just open-minded, constructive conversations. And that's how I prefer it. Like, I'm not really into debate formats, or like I'm open to clearly, agree to disagree, and we can, have differences in opinion. But it's like, yeah, I just want it to be worthwhile and constructive, because why else are we having a conversation? And then beyond that, to just meet somebody new and have a new like-minded friend, that I can talk to about these things without feeling like I'm out of my fucking mind. Absolutely, and that I'm entirely alone, right? And isolated from the rest of the
whenever, like, no gay shit. You can call me whenever and fucking and talk to me. You like, hey, bro, you want to hear about this? Listen to what I just fucking. Now I'll be like, yes,
awesome, dude.
Tell my kids like, hey, hold on.
right.
Hold on 10 minutes. Thanks, but yeah, man, no, this was fucking awesome, dude. You gonna tell people where to find you? And
yeah, I guess I should. You can follow the podcast, listen to it basically on any audio streaming platform for now, at the Underclass Podcast. But I'm really gonna attempt to get my YouTube up by this weekend. Honestly, it's about time. And that way, even with Already Dead, we'll finally be able to stream to both and stuff like that. And
yeah, dude.
Yeah, it'll be a little better. Maybe we can do super chats until I get demonetized, which probably won't take long, but we'll see.
Hey, it's okay, dude. I'm still well. I quit streaming Schizo News Network to YouTube, so maybe that saved me.
Right.
But yeah, I haven't gotten any. I mean, and obviously, I'm not. I haven't been doing this for as long as you. But yeah, I hopefully that curse can skip us or whatever.
Right, that would be
our
nice.
Content out everywhere, and everybody can hear it.
Exactly, man. So hopefully, I'll get that up and running by the weekend. But other than that, yeah, check out the show. I'm doing Already Dead with Jose on typically every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time.
Jose. Yeah, it's a live call-in show, guys. So fucking call in.
Dude, give us a call. Call us with some weird shit. We're always down. Anything,
I'm
dude.
Call in soon. We'll see.
Dude, you should, bro. Honestly, that would be fun. But beyond that, yeah, I'll probably be doing some solo episode about the psychopath machine soon, because I'm like reeling over that right now, and it's interesting to me. So I'll probably have that out by maybe sometime next week, at the end of the week, probably. And but yeah, other than that, follow me on Twitter at UnderclassPod, on Instagram at the Underclass Podcast, and then check out the podcast.
Are you on Rumble?
Not on Rumble yet. No,
not on Rumble yet. I got you.
Yeah, hopefully we can make that happen though. But I do need to get that YouTube up and running. Hopefully that leads to something too. So,
dude, you keep making the videos and the content, and I'll keep posting it and supporting it. And
thanks, brother.
Putting your work out there, man. Yeah, dude.
Hell yeah, Jules. Dude, thank you again, man. Honestly, appreciate you having me on, bro.
Yeah, brother, for sure. Guys, Greypilled Podcast, Greypilled_podcast on Instagram. Go follow me there. I'm on Twitter at GreypilledPod. I'm on Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, Bitchute, and Apple Podcasts, Greypilled Podcast. So y'all go and whatever you use to listen to podcasts, leave me good reviews and shit. And all my stuff is on there. Starting a Schizo News Network locals soon, so that should be fun. I'm also starting a Patreon soon that I'll be posting extra content to. I'll be putting the Elohim etymology episodes on there early and probably some extra content from those. Some stuff that I'll be doing with my wife. So y'all check that out. Patreon.com/GreypilledPodcast. Yeah, just dropped the Elohim etymology on Marduk part 1. Me and my co-host Adrian West. Again, sorry, Austin, I griffed for about like 5 minutes.
You're good, dude.
And my friends. Go buy Pantheon 1 The Golden Veins on Amazon. It's fucking great, especially if you're into like fallen angels and Anunnaki and all that. Adrian's take is quite unique, and there's a lot of research that we do that's involved in our show too. So check that out. Also, yeah, Schizo News Network tomorrow night. Me, Cody, Oddfellows brand, my boy Chef from Sunday Night Secret Society in the Cave, and Squatch from Pesky Pets podcast. Fucking Squatch, man. We'll be there. Maybe Nate will be back. I don't know. He may still be on his anniversary vacation, but that's every Saturday. All this stuff is on the Greypilled channel, the Elohim etymology. Also, y'all go follow Reality Czars Pod on Twitter. It's my co-host Nate and my other co-host Thomas, the paranoid motherfucking American. Shouts out Thomas.
Thomas.
Yeah, man, we all love Thomas.
Real dude. He had me on early back in the day, right after I did Sam's show. Honestly, that was
really
it meant a lot to me, man. He hit me up just recently and just said that that it did pretty well, and that that actually like he had a lot of fun recording that one. And that was when I was just like kind of real new to it all. It was I'm pretty sure it was only my 3rd interview, that I had done. And so I was he
was my first interview, man. Him
Wow.
and Nate were the first to interview me on Reality Czars.
He has such good energy, man. I just really love Thomas. He's a good guy.
Very transparent guy. Man, me and Thomas damn near text every day. He's one of my best friends. So
hell yeah, man. Tell him I said what's up.
Yeah, well, yeah, dude. Me, him, and Ani Osaru are doing a John Todd deep dive soon, guys. We may try to get Juan or Donut on for that. So that'll be fun. Y'all go to paranoidamerican.com. I'm gonna play a couple ads after we get out of here, so y'all can check some stuff out. Look out for some more sound science that me and Thomas have coming. We do another show together. You find it all on Greypilled, guys. Yeah, trying to get some people in there, talk about music and their favorite bands and stuff. It's harder than you would think. But yeah, y'all go support Austin over at the Underclass Podcast. Him and Jose Already Dead. And I almost called your show Better Off Dead like 3 times tonight.
That's hilarious.
I don't think Jose would have liked that.
Yeah, right. That's hilarious.
Oh, but yeah, man, this was fun, guys. Y'all have a good weekend, and hopefully we'll see y'all on Schizo tomorrow. And yeah, everybody stay Greypilled. Austin, it was a pleasure, brother.
Pleasure, my friend.
All right, man. Later, everybody.
Spread the word with propaganda packs, all for just $40 shipped at paranoidamerican.com.
Paranoid propaganda packs. We got facts on these sticker slaps. So grab yourself a stack and go attack with these paranoid propaganda packs.
These huge all-weather slaps will last in public for years to come. Remind citizens that birds are not real. Self-immolation is an option, and might make you magnetic. Do your part and get a propaganda pack today from ParanoidAmerican.com.
Paranoid propaganda packs. We got facts on these sticker slaps. So grab yourself a stack and go attack with these paranoid propaganda packs.
What are you waiting for? Go to ParanoidAmerican.com right now and get a paranoid propaganda pack.
Ready for a cosmic conspiracy about Stanley Kubrick, moon landings, and the CIA? Go visit NASAcomic.com.
NASAcomic.com, CIA's biggest con. Stanley Kubrick put us on, that's why we're singing this song. I'm NASAcomic.com, go visit NASAcomic.com. Go visit NASAcomic.com. Yeah, go visit NASAcomic.com. Oh, NASAcomic.com, CIA's biggest con. Stanley Kubrick put us on, that's why we're singing this song. I'm NASAcomic.com, go visit NASAcomic.com. Go visit NASAcomic.com. Yeah, go visit NASAcomic.com.
Never a Straight Answer is a 40-page comic about Stanley Kubrick directing the Apollo space missions.
Yeah, go visit NASAcomic.com.
This is the perfect read for comic, Kubrick, or conspiracy fans of all ages. For more details, visit NASAcomic.com.
Guys, real fast, I forgot to tell you, go to Organite.com. That's the state of Oregon-ite.com. Enter promo code GP for Greypilled, obviously, and you can get 10% off your purchase. Support Isaac. He's a good guy. And go to oddfellowsbrand.com and support Cody. Yeah. Again, y'all stay Greypilled and later. See,
Welcome to the Greypilled
I'm
Podcast.
slightly autistic. No, I mean, I'm fucking awkward, you know? I know I'm not like the brightest bulb in the shed. I'm find you a good one, fellas, because they're all getting either, you know, taken away by other men or taken away by Samael. They called Demiurge Jehovah etheric mermaids in your semen. I don't know how I feel about that. Marduk is the scapegoat. Azazel means the scapegoat.
Wow.
Get the E from the beginning of his name and the L at the end. Put that together. There's your Saturn deity right there, guys. Everyone knows about the reptilians and their cavern systems underground that lead to Hollow Earth. And we can talk about that when
Jules knows.
Mr. Hall talks about the teachings of Paracelsus and his many views on the elementals, and I find that fascinating. Create a Patreon and anyone fucking like 99 cents a month. I don't know. Maybe I'll go live if not. I don't give a fuck. I don't really care what people think, so I like it.
You're killing it, Jules, bro.
There's some people that are kind of mad, man.
Okay, well, all right, we're going to take you back out.
Red and black, and that's alchemical. In Freemasonry and in all esoteric history schools, the eagle is usually a representation of the original phoenix. Just blew my own mind. Greypilled's dropping left and right, man.
3-6 Mafia is the sipping on the scissor, right? They were bringing the hydrocodone
on the hands-free phone.
On the hands-free phone, yeah.
It's the Greypilled Podcast, dropping jewels with Jews on the Greypilled Podcast. Time to school all these fools on the Greypilled Podcast.
Welcome to the Greypilled Podcast.
Gather round, all you mystery seekers.
into the dark, exploring realms beyond what's known, where the secrets of the shadows leave their mark. Come take a ride on the Greypilled Express, where esoteric knowledge is our guest. From conspiracies to cryptids, we unveil the veil. Mysticism and the occult, our forbidden tale. Join us on this journey to uncover